Naruto Tsunade is pregnant, I can only grow stronger. Hello again, dear adventurers of the multiverse. Thanks for joining us once more on this epic journey. Remember, this story is pure science fiction from our wild imagination. So don't go trying to summon dragons in your backyard. The rights of this amazing novel belong entirely to its original author. We are only the narrators. Do you want more adventures? Show some love to our YouTube channel with a subscription and a like. And if you want exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting for you with open arms. Chapter 126 Kokuzu and Hidden. At the treetop, Xiao Yun conjured two wood-release clones. Unlike his previous wood-release clones, since being infused with natural energy, Xiao Yun's wood-release clones could now use the 8 gates and lightning release. Teacher Yuhikirne, I'll leave 2 clones to protect you. I'll go scout ahead, Xiao Yun whispered. Be careful, Yuhikirne said worriedly, looking at Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun patted Yuhikirne's hand, smiled, and then merged into the tree. In the forest, a group of Tsuchikage ninjas surrounded 2 ninjas. These 2 ninjas wore black robes printed with fire cloud patterns, one wielded a giant scythe, and the other wore sunglasses. Although the Tsuchikage ninjas outnumbered them, they all looked as if facing a formidable enemy. Hidden in the shadows, Xiao Yun was secretly alarmed. Aren't these Hidden and Kokuzu? Why are they wandering around near Konoha? And why are the Tsuchikage ninjas confronting these 2? Kokuzu, you've broken our agreement. Xiao Yun immediately recognized that Tsuchikage ninja who spoke. It was Furukawa, the leader of the attack on the Reikage ninja that day. Furukawa, according to the agreement, you should have delivered Danzo's head to me, but you've been dragging your feet. Our boss is very angry. Kokuzu spoke, his voice hoarse, inhumanly hoarse, sending chills down one's spine. That's right. My brother Kokuzu is still waiting to exchange Danzo for money. You broke your promise first, so don't blame us for not keeping our word. The man wielding the giant scythe looked at that Tsuchikage ninja with dissatisfaction. That Tsuchikage said that Danzo cannot be handed over to you for the time being. You just need to wait patiently for a while, and that Tsuchikage will naturally offer him up with both hands, Furukawa said calmly. Ho ha ho ha. Kokuzu and Hidden laughed arrogantly, looking at that Tsuchikage ninja with disdain. Furukawa, do you know the consequences of breaking your promise to Akatsuki? Kokuzu suddenly stopped laughing and asked coldly. That's right, Furukawa, you know that we Akatsuki don't have many members, and we're homeless. But your Tsuchikage village is different. Furukawa, you don't want your Tsuchikage village to live in constant turmoil, do you? Hidden slammed his giant scythe into the ground and looked at Furukawa with a sly smile. It seems this matter can't be resolved peacefully. In that case, you 2 will have no choice but to die. Furukawa's eyes turned cold, and more than a dozen Tsuchikage simultaneously formed hand seals. Earth release, dragon sealing technique. Boom. More than a dozen earth dragons instantly emerged from the ground, forming a tornado that surrounded the 2 men. Xiao Yun, hiding in the tree, had his purple eyes flashing. He instantly recognized the extraordinary nature of this sealing technique. The tornado formed by the earth dragons seemed to be able to absorb a large amount of chakra. Konoha had a similar technique, but it was definitely not as powerful as this one. As expected, Kokuzu and Hidden, trapped inside, could break through no matter what they tried, swords, axes, or various ninjutsu. HMPH, it seems you came prepared, Kokuzu sneered. Just then, a sharp, cold light flashed, and with a whoosh, blood splattered as Hidden's head flew off and fell to the ground. However, strangely, the eyes on Hidden's head continued to dart around. Damn it! Damn it! How dare you cut off my head? Lord Jeshin won't let you get away with this. Hey, Kokuzu. Beat them all down. Get their blood. I'll curse them. Hidden actually cursed, creating an incredibly bizarre scene. Shut up, Hidden. Just stay there and watch, Kokuzu said calmly, seemingly unafraid of the sealing technique before him. Seal. Guji shouted, and instantly a gale arose. The tornado formed by the earth dragon spun and rapidly shrank, squeezing the 2 people in the middle, ultimately creating a shrunken earth dragon that trapped them tightly inside. Then, more than a dozen swords with sealing talismans were inserted into the earth dragon's body. Seal. Guji shouted, and the earth dragon's body instantly shone with a bright yellow light. Boom. At that moment, a violent explosion suddenly rang out, and the earth dragon's body instantly shattered into pieces. A figure appeared before everyone, and it was none other than Kokuzu from before. However, Kokuzu had now shed his fiery cloud robe, and his body was covered in stitches and patches. Several masks were even sewn onto his heart, making him look like a Frankenstein's monster, quite terrifying. Even more terrifying was that he was holding Hiden's head in his left hand and Hiden's body in his right. Everyone, you've disappointed me, haven't you? We're not dead. Hiden's head actually spoke, eerily sending chills down everyone's spine. Hey, Kokuzu, hurry up and reconnect my head and body. Are you going to carry my head around for the rest of your life? Hiden yelled in dissatisfaction. HMPH, Kokuzu snorted coldly, reconnecting Hiden's head and body. A dark, gooey object flew from his left hand, circling around the junction of Hiden's head and neck. After a while, Hiden actually shook his head left and right, completely unrecognizable as if he had just been decapitated. Except for Furikawa, the other Tsuchikage ninjas were terrified. Was this even human? Even Xiao Yun, hiding in the tree, was greatly surprised. Although he had known for a long time that Hiden possessed an immortal body, knowing was one thing, seeing it with his own eyes was another. Furikawa, are you prepared to die? Kokuzu's voice was extremely deep. Furikawa's face was grave. He drew his short sword from his waist, coldly staring at Kokuzu and Hiden. He really hadn't expected that this sealing jutsu hadn't been able to seal these two. Nishire! Kokuzu roared, throwing a punch at Furikawa. The next second, his fist and wrist separated, connected by a black line that stretched infinitely, propelling his fist towards Furikawa at incredible speed. Earth release, earth power. Suddenly, an earthen wall rose from the ground, blocking Furikawa's path. Kokuzu smirked contemptuously as his fist effortlessly pierced the wall. Furikawa was shocked and immediately used his short blade to block in front of his chest. Thud. Although he barely managed to block the punch, Furikawa still took a solid hit, spitting out a mouthful of blood and flying backward. Kokuzu expressionlessly withdrew his fist, glancing at the blood on it, and gave Hiden a meaningful look. Hiden immediately understood, running to Kokuzu's side. Kokuzu scraped the blood off Hiden's fist with his fingers, a cruel and savage smile spreading across his face. Ha ha ha, great evil god, today I will offer my sacrifice to you again. Please accept my gift, long live the evil god. Hiden laughed maniacally as he looked at Furikawa. Chapter 127 The Tsuchikage vs Kokuzu and Hiden Duo. In the forest, Hiden licked the blood from his fingertips like a dog, making smacking noises as if savoring the most delicious food in the world. Such sweet blood. Lord Jeshin will surely love it. Hiden's face was filled with piety. Come. Sacrifice. Hiden shouted, slashing his arm, blood flowing down his body to the ground, his feet slowly drawing circles in the blood. Don't let him complete the ritual. Pull him out of the circle. Furikawa shouted in panic at his subordinates. Clearly, he knew Hiden's abilities. Yes. That Tsuchikage ninja instantly attacked Hiden. HMPH, get out of my way. Kokuzu formed hand seals, his skin turning as black as iron, then leaped forward with incredible speed. Clang. 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 In an instant, Kokuzu blocked the attacks of the Tsuchikage ninja with his body, deflecting the explosive tags, Kyune, and Shuriken. Even Xiao Yun, perched in the tree, was dumbfounded. This was insanely hard, even his Sage Mode body couldn't achieve that level of hardness. Damn it, no wonder they were all Akatsuki members, they were all freaks. Just as Kokuzu repelled that Tsuchikage ninja, Hiden finally completed his ritual. He drew a 1-meter diameter, blood-red circle at his feet, containing a triangle. Hiden, wielding a giant scythe, stood solemnly in the center of the circle. Evil god, I now offer you my sweet blood, please savor it slowly. With that, Hiden raised the scythe and plunged it into his own heart. You're a Madai. Furikawa, his eyes bloodshot, roared. Shirai. Hiden roared again, the giant scythe piercing his heart, blood flowing freely onto the ground. Then, with a thud, he collapsed to the ground. Furikawa suddenly clutched his chest, collapsing to the ground in agony. Lord Kalsuk, what's wrong? Lord Kalsuk, are you alright? Medical ninja, go check on Lord Kalsuk. A group of Konoha ninjas rushed to Kalsuk's side. Your Lord Kalsuk has been sacrificed to the evil god, it's his honor. Hiden suddenly stood up and said coldly, what was terrifying was that a giant scythe was still stuck in his heart. Ah! Suddenly, a scream came, and Kokuzu next to Hiden suddenly clutched his chest and knelt down, his forehead covered with large beads of sweat. Kawa, Suke. Kakuzu suddenly remembered something, his eyes widened, looking at Kasuke in astonishment, then his body stiffened, and he fell straight down, his eyes wide open, looking like he died with his eyes open. Hey, Kakuzu, what's wrong with you? Hiden looked at Kakuzu in confusion, not knowing what had happened. A cold laugh rang out as Furukawa slowly stood up, looking at Hiden with a smug expression. Why are you alright? You should be dead. This is impossible. This is impossible. Hiden roared madly at Furukawa. Xiao Yun, hiding in the tree, chuckled inwardly. This idiot, isn't it obvious? You're cursing your own comrade. Furukawa must have secretly taken a bit of Kakuzu's blood while using the sealing technique, and then secretly placed it on Furukawa while Kakuzu attacked him with his fist. This guy is truly a cunning boy. I'll disappoint you, follower of the evil god. You're sacrificing your accomplice. Take him down. Remember, don't let him get your own blood. This guy can curse his enemies with blood. Furukawa's lips curled into a strange smile. If this guy didn't have this terrifying curse ability and immortality, his combat strength would only be at the level of an ordinary jonin. Now that Kakuzu is dead, he's nothing but a paper tiger in front of that Tsuchikage ninja. Besides, his curse technique is a double-edged sword, killing 1,000 enemies while losing 800 of his own. Hiden is now kneeling on the ground in agony. Yes! That Tsuchikage ninja rushed forward. Fire release, head Katsuku. Suddenly, Kakuzu, who had been lying on the ground, stood up abruptly, breathing flames. Instantly, a wave of fire engulfed that Tsuchikage ninja, turning the first few at the front into ashes. A huge heat wave rolled in, and even Xiao Yun, who was hiding in the distance, couldn't bear it. He jumped out of a tree trunk and observed the battlefield from afar. Water release, water wall. Furukawa was no pushover either, using water release, stream to save his subordinates. After a long while, the water and fire finally disappeared, leaving only darkness in the forest. Furukawa looked at Kakuzu, who was unharmed, with astonishment and exclaimed, "This is impossible. You should have been cursed to death, how are you still alive?" Furukawa, for the sake of our past partnership, I'll let you die knowing why, Kakuzu said coldly. Suddenly, Kakuzu lifted the mask covering his heart, and 4 black shadows flew out. 4 humanoid monsters appeared before them, each wearing a mask with the characters for wind, thunder, fire, and water written on it. The monster wearing the water mask let out a painful howl and turned into a puddle of black water that flowed onto the ground. Furukawa, you destroyed my water heart. If I remember correctly, you possess water release chakra. If you don't mind, I'd like to replenish it with your heart. If you mind, it's useless anyway. With that, Kakuzu formed hand seals. Wind release, great Itachi Scythe. Fire release, head carving. Instantly, a gale arose, and a raging sea of fire erupted. The fire release, amplified by the wind, became even more unrestrained, with blade-shaped fireballs hurtling towards that Tsuchikage village. Water release, water wall. Earth release, earth flow wall. Though terrified, the Tsuchikage village members, seasoned veterans of countless battles, first used earth release to block the wind. Furukawa then used water release to meet the fire release, resulting in a stalemate where neither side could gain the upper hand. HMPH, not bad teamwork. How about we try this next move? Lightning release, false darkness. Kakuzu shouted. Sizzle. Blue electricity surged rapidly along the water release. Ah! 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 Screams filled the air. Furukawa, trying to protect that Tsuchikage ninja from the fire release, had used water release to envelop them, only to find himself trapped in his own web of suffering. In an instant, the earth release technique crumbled. Had Furukawa not been incredibly fast, he too would have been injured by the lightning release. That Tsuchikage ninjas, though not dead, were all rendered incapacitated, collapsing to the ground, convulsing. Damn it! Furukawa glared at Kakuzu, his expression grave. He hadn't expected this guy to be so strong. Your turn, Furukawa, become my 5th heart. Kakuzu roared, his true form turning pitch black again, charging towards Furukawa. Furukawa drew his short blade, dodging and weaving. Kakuzu's attacks were powerful, but Furukawa was as slippery as an eel, unable to find a way to counter him. Haha, you can't escape this time. Just as the two were locked in combat, Hiden, who had been lurking behind Furukawa, swung aside with incredible speed. I'm done for. Furukawa was terrified. At such close range, he couldn't dodge. If he were injured, he would be dead. At the critical moment, a dark figure suddenly appeared, blocking Hiden's giant scythe with his body. The scythe fell, and the dark figure was cleaved in two. With a thud, the dark figure turned into wood. Substitution jutsu. Just then, another dark figure descended from the sky, aiming straight for Kakuzu's four hearts. Chapter 128 Sneak Attack. Just when Furukawa thought he was doomed, the appearance of the man in black saved his life. Kakuzu, however, cried out in alarm. The man in black was after his heart. Kakuzu tried to retrieve his heart, but it was too late. The man in black's speed was astonishing. With a whoosh, a sword slashed out, and at that moment, a bolt of lightning shot from the mouth of the humanoid monster, wearing a mask with a character Thunder on it. The best defense is offense. HMPH, Kakuzu sneered. Anyone who wanted to kill his heart had to be prepared to die. But the next second, Kakuzu's smile vanished. The man in black didn't dodge, he swung his sword directly at the lightning. The powerful lightning had absolutely no effect on the man in black, merely momentarily halting its attack. Then, the lightning humanoid monster was decapitated, struggled a few times, and turned into a puddle of black liquid that flowed onto the ground. However, this bought time for the other two humanoid monsters, who managed to create distance between themselves and Xiao Yun. Kakuzu's eyes widened in fury. This lightning release heart was something he had painstakingly collected, and this bastard had destroyed it so easily. Bastard, I'll kill you. Kakuzu wanted nothing more than to tear the man before him to pieces, but instinct told him that the man in black was very strong. As a contemporary of the first Hokage, his composure was already unwavering. After a brief moment of rage, Kakuzu quickly regained his composure. Meanwhile, Furukawa took the opportunity to distance himself from Kakuzu and Hiden. Who are you? Why did you ambush me? Kakuzu coldly stared at the man in black. Do you think I can tell you who I am? You big idiot. The man in black chuckled, his eyes full of mockery. You. Kakuzu took a deep breath, trying to calm himself down. In a battle between experts, anger was never an option. Hey Kakuzu, you've fought the first Hokage, even if you just threw a shuriken from 800 li away and ran off. That doesn't mean you're that weak. Show me your true strength, or I'll use you as a sacrifice for my sword today. The black-clad man's mocking voice rang out again. You. Kakuzu's face flushed red, both shocked and furious. How did the black-clad man know he'd fought the first Hokage? That was the most boastful thing he'd ever done. No one should know he had just thrown a few shuriken and run away. He wasn't the only one who threw shuriken at Hashirama Senju, but everyone from that era was dead. How did he know? You bastard, you're talking nonsense. I fought Tabirama Senju for 800 rounds, and it was a draw. You cowardly coward, show your true face. I'll fight you 300 rounds. Kakuzu thought he was very composed, but today he was still enraged. Look at you, getting all worked up? Actually, I think you're quite courageous. After all, very few people dare to throw shuriken at the first Hokage. I actually admire you quite a bit. It would have been even more perfect if you hadn't run away after throwing the shuriken, the man in black said with a hint of regret. What the hell are you barking about? If you've got the guts, don't try to sneak up on me. Fight me fair and square. Even though Kakuzu's composure was usually as calm as still water, he couldn't help but curse in the face of the man in black's repeated provocations. This is intolerable. Kakuzu, you deal with this bastard and get me his blood. I'll hold off Furukawa. Hiden couldn't help but step forward. Kakuzu looked at Hiden expressionlessly, thinking, you've got a good eye for talent. This guy is clearly much stronger than Furukawa. Then it's decided. I'm going. Hiden roared, swinging his giant scythe and attacking Furukawa. In an instant, they were locked in a fierce battle. Kakuzu. Hey, your companions have all gone up, aren't you going up? Xiao Yun asked teasingly. HMPH. Kakuzu sneered, coldly looking at the man in black. For some reason, he always felt a trace of the first Hokage's aura on him. That aura was too familiar, even after so many years, he still remembered it vividly. For a moment, Kakuzu had the urge to run, but after hesitating for a long time, he decided not to. If he ran, how could he still survive in the Akatsuki? He'd exchange a few blows with him first, and if it didn't work, he could run. Hey, what's with you staring at me like that? Are you going to fight or not? The man in black sounded impatient. Kakuzu took a deep breath, his expression serious, and extended his left fist, pointing forward with one finger. The man in black didn't dare to be careless. After all, the opponent was Kakuzu of the Akatsuki, who is very strong. Come here then, Kakuzu beckoned with his finger, indicating that the man in black had the ability to come and fight him. The man in black nearly tumbled to the ground, utterly astonished that the mighty Kakuzu would be possessed by divine power at this moment. Playing dirty tricks, huh? HMPH, I'll satisfy you then. The man in black grabbed his longsword, leaped into the air, and thrust it fiercely at Kakuzu. HMPH. Still young, trying to play mind games with me? You're too green, Kakuzu sneered, coldly watching the man in black in midair. Such an attack was full of flaws. Daring to engage in close combat like this? I'll crush you, you little brat. Kakuzu didn't dodge, his entire body turned black, becoming as hard as black iron. The man in black in midair sneered, and just 10 meters from Kakuzu, Xiao Yun's longsword suddenly flashed with lightning, unleashing a dazzling purple-red bolt of lightning that crashed down. You. Kakuzu was both shocked and terrified. Such terrifying lightning release, capable of materializing to this extent. He couldn't take it head-on, even with his steel-clad body. Without a second thought, Kakuzu instinctively dodged, but the next second, he realized his mistake. The man in black wasn't targeting him at all, but rather Hidden, who was standing not far behind him. Ah! Hidden screamed in agony as his body was pierced by the crimson lightning. The powerful current instantly numbed his body, and he collapsed to the ground, convulsing uncontrollably. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 129 Shell Organization. On the desolate plains, covered in snow, Danzo wandered aimlessly through this white world. Suddenly, a flash of light appeared ahead, and a strangely dressed, masked man suddenly appeared before Danzo. Who are you? Danzo looked at the man with extreme wariness. Years of combat experience told him that this man was extremely powerful. Danzo, abandoned by Konoha, and then abandoned by the Tsuchikage village, truly like a stray dog, the man's contemptuous voice rang out. Who exactly are you? Danzo's wariness intensified. This man knew him intimately. Had he been following him all along? My name is Jijin, the leader of the Kara organization, the man said calmly. Jijin? Kara organization? Danzo looked at the man in confusion. He had never heard of this organization before. Where did it come from? Don't look at me like that. The Kara organization has existed for over 1,000 years. To be precise, we existed in this world before ninjas even existed. Come with me, and I will give you a real home. The man's tone was full of temptation. I have no interest. Danzo coldly stared at the man. Xiao Yun's mission for him was to infiltrate the Akatsuki organization, but instead of the Akatsuki, he encountered the Kara organization. Is that so? The man sneered, waving his left hand, and a projection suddenly appeared in front of Danzo, the images rapidly changing. For a long time, Danzo's jaw nearly dropped to the ground. He was so shocked he could hardly speak. This was all too unbelievable, completely overturning his understanding of the ninja world. So? Are you willing to join the Kara organization? The man said calmly. Jijin, no, I should call you Otsutsuki. What are the benefits of joining the Kara organization? After a long silence, Danzo finally asked. Gain the power of a god. The power of a god? I hope you keep your word. The Kara organization welcomes you to join. At the border of Konoha, Xiao Yun grabbed Hidden, who was still in a paralyzed state. Damn it, you have no decency. You ambushed me, you tricked me. Let me go. Let me go. Hidden roared incessantly, but his entire body was paralyzed and he couldn't move. He could only let Xiao Yun hold him like a chicken. The man in black ignored Hidden and simply took out a thin wire and tied him up tightly. Kyukako, this man is useful to Makarigakure. I'm taking him back to Mizukage. Mission accomplished, I'll retreat now. After saying that, the man in black carried Hidden away into the distance at an astonishing speed. Only a bewildered Kakuzu and Kakuzu were left behind. You scoundrel, don't run away. Kakuzu, who had just realized what was happening, tried to chase after the man in black, but he was too fast. In no time, the man in black had disappeared without a trace. Cao Kakal also took this opportunity to slip away. Tsuchikage village, Kirigakure village, how dare you join forces to betray Akatsuki? I will never let you get away with this. With that, Kakuzu glared furiously in the direction the black-clad man had disappeared, then grabbed several Tsuchikage ninjas lying on the ground and ripped their hearts out. Xiao Yun, who is this person? Kurenai looked at the strange, blood-covered man in Xiao Yun's hand. He's a complete idiot. Let's go, we need to get back to Konoha quickly. Indeed, the black-clad man was Xiao Yun. Ah, I'm up. You're Xiao Yun, the 5th Hokage of Konoha, aren't you? Hidden stared incredulously at the young man before him. Everyone said Xiao Yun became Hokage through women, but that was pure nonsense. The strength he displayed just now, even if not cage level, was at least at the level of an elite Jonin. Was Konoha deliberately spreading false information to mislead others? You guessed right, I am indeed the 5th Hokage, Xiao Yun replied with a smile. HMPH, 5th Hokage, I advise you to release me. If the leader finds out you captured me, he won't let you off the hook. Hidden roared at Xiao Yun. Is that so? I seem to remember it was a Kirigakure ninja who captured you. Right, we also needed the help of that Tsuchikage, otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to capture you either, Xiao Yun said mockingly, looking at Hidden. You. Hidden was speechless. This guy was trying to shift the blame, making the Akatsuki fight that Tsuchikage and Kirigakure to the death. Xiao Yun, you treacherous bastard, I'll fuck you. Hidden roared angrily. Xiao Yun ignored him, simply took off his sock, and stuffed it into Hidden's mouth. Konoha Village, the Hokage's private underground chamber, the place where Kushina Uzumaki gave birth to Naruto. This is the highest level of security in Konoha, with 10 layers of barriers, various traps, and high-ranking Anbu guards. To date, only Madara Uchiha has managed to force his way in. Of course, there was another person, a Brido Uchiha, though everyone thought it was Madara Uchiha. Xiao Yun, why did you bring this person back? Tsunade asked Xiao Yun, puzzled. Yes, the Akatsuki members are all heinous criminals. Just kill them if you catch them, why bother bringing them back? Jiraiya replied, equally puzzled. Tsunade, Jiraiya, you represent Konoha's strongest fighting force right now. Even in the ninja world, you're among the top. But, if I may be frank, the terror of the enemies we'll face in the future will far exceed your imagination. The reason I brought him back is because of his abilities. Xiao Yun explained Hidden's abilities in detail, leaving Tsunade and Jiraiya speechless. Xiao Yun, I understand. You want to use this person to curse enemies and kill them without them even realizing it, is that right? Tsunade asked, looking at Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun, your idea is good, but how can we get this person to work for us? He looks like a complete idiot. Getting him to work for Konoha might be. Jiraiya's face was full of doubt. Xiao Yun waved his hand and smiled at Jiraiya, saying, you've narrowed your perspective. Lord Jiraiya, don't you think finding the source of this power is far more appealing? Jiraiya frowned upon hearing this. Indeed, this person possessed such unfathomable power, finding its source would be incredibly rewarding. Lord Jiraiya, Xiao Yun explained slowly, our world actually possesses many unknown powers. For example, Mount Myaboku and Raichi Cave, which are little known to the world, as well as the Uzumaki clan's sealing techniques, and the evil god this guy mentioned, it's most likely a special ability possessed by an unknown race. Jiraiya and Tsunade fell into deep thought. After a long while, a hint of worry appeared on their faces. What's wrong with you two? Why are you both looking so downcast? Even if we can't find the source of this power, I can control Hidden with Jinjutsu. Don't forget, I have the main Gekkai Sharingan that Itachi Uchiha gave me. Xiao Yun said with a smile. Upon hearing this, Tsunade stepped forward and took Xiao Yun's arm, looking at him with concern. Yun, she said. I've noticed you're becoming increasingly obsessed with power. If this continues, I'm afraid you'll follow Orochimaru's path. That's right, Xiao Yun, Jiraiya continued, to be precise, you're even more unfathomable and terrifying to me than Orochimaru. Your wood release talent, sage body, powerful lightning release chakra, Jinjutsu talent, those evil main Gekkai Sharingan, mysterious purple eyes, and the 8 gates, any one of these would be enough to make any other ninja proud. Why do you still pursue even greater power, even power that is no matter how evil? Xiao Yun, can you tell me why? Jiraiya looked at Xiao Yun with a grave expression. Chapter 130 The storm is brewing. In the Hokage's private basement in Konoha village, Tsunade and Jiraiya's faces were filled with worry. They feared that Xiao Yun would follow in Orochimaru's footsteps, becoming ruthless in his pursuit of power. So that's what you're worried about? Xiao Yun smiled faintly, then took a deep breath and said seriously, there are some things I didn't want to tell you now, but it seems better too. But you must be mentally prepared. Seeing Xiao Yun's solemn expression, the two nodded. Back in ancient times, Xiao Yun began to recount, from the arrival of Otsutsuki Aishiki and Kaguya in this world, to Otsutsuki Haguramo creating the ninja world, and the subsequent grudges between the Senju and Uchiha clans. He recounted everything in detail. Tsunade and Jiraiya listened in stunned silence, their mouths practically forming in was this some kind of mythological tale? So, the so-called tailed beasts are just the chakra fruits of the god tree, and the Otsutsuki clan will eventually send someone to take them away? Jiraiya asked in astonishment. That's right, the Otsutsuki clan will come to this world sooner or later. If we don't have enough power, everyone in the ninja world will become nourishment for the divine tree, and eventually this world will wither and everyone will die. Xiao Yun's tone was full of worry. No wonder you're so obsessed with power. It seems I misunderstood you. I'm sorry, Xiao Yun, Tsunade said with a hint of guilt. Xiao Yun gently stroked Tsunade's light yellow hair and said with a smile, Tsunade, don't worry, with me here, I won't let you and the child get hurt in the slightest. Tsunade nodded and nestled happily in Xiao Yun's arms. Cough cough cough, go home if you want to be affectionate, I'm still here. Jiraiya said irritably. After a pause, he sighed again and said, faced with such a powerful enemy, the ninja world must unite to avoid destruction. Unfortunately, the ninja world is too turbulent right now, and the fourth shinobi world war could break out at any time. Alice, if a war is unavoidable, we must make it happen sooner. Therefore, I've decided that the first step is to unify the ninja world, but the methods might be a bit bloody. Xiao Yun sighed helplessly. Tell me your ideas, Jiraiya asked. First, we must use the Akatsuki to eliminate the Tsuchikage and Karigakure villages, and then Just then, a faint yellow light flashed on Xiao Yun's chest, and he quickly pulled it out. Xiao Yun, is this a communication scroll? Tsunade looked at Xiao Yun in confusion. Xiao Yun nodded, opened it, and his expression changed drastically. Xiao Yun, what's wrong? Tsunade and Jiraiya asked worriedly. How could this be? How could this be? Xiao Yun stared intently at the contents of the scroll, muttering to himself. What exactly happened? Tsunade hurriedly grabbed Xiao Yun's arm and asked. Danzo has joined the Kara organization, Xiao Yun said, enunciating each word clearly. This shouldn't be happening. Shouldn't the Kara organization have only appeared after Naruto had his son? Why did they appear so early? If that Otsutsuki Aishiki were to appear now, who in the ninja world could stand against him? No. Xiao Yun forced himself to calm down. Otsutsuki Aishiki was still hiding himself, meaning his strength didn't allow him to make a big show of himself. He must have some unavoidable reason, which meant he still had time. Power, I need power. At this moment, Xiao Yun had never craved power so much. Xiao Yun. Time waits for no one. Since the Jijin you mentioned is Otsutsuki Aishiki and he's already started acting, our time is running out. So we must act quickly. Tell me, what's our next step? Jiraiya said seriously. Lord Jiraiya, I need you to immediately go to Ukage village to investigate all information about the evil god. Remember, no matter what happens, survival is the top priority, Xiao Yun said. Okay, Jiraiya nodded. What about me? Tsunade asked. Xiao Yun smiled and said, just handle the relations with the various countries in Konoha. The rest of the time, focus on your pregnancy. Leave the rest to me. In a huge cave, 8 colorful phantoms stood on the fingers of a giant Buddha statue. Hey, Kokuzu, you're supposed to be a ninja who fought the first Hokage, and your comrade was captured right in front of you? You're really pathetic, said a young man with blonde hair, his tone full of mockery. You bastard, you dare to laugh at me? Do you believe I'll rip your heart out? Kokuzu was immediately enraged. HMPH, my art isn't just for looking at, the young man said disdainfully, looking at Kokuzu. Deidara, Kokuzu, both of you, keep your mouth shut, the middleman said calmly. If Xiao Yun were here, he would recognize this man as Pain, the one who had discussed the path of peace with him that day. Seeing Pain speak, The two merely glared at each other and stopped arguing. "Kakuzu, what happened?" Pain asked. "Boss, we were ordered to capture the two tails, but we were ambushed by the Tsuchikage and Kirigakure villages. Hidden was also captured by Kirigakure," Kakuzu said. You can't blame yourself for that. Everyone knows Inoki is notoriously two-faced. I didn't expect Mei to turn on us so quickly. It seems they still have doubts about her plan to capture the tailed beasts," Pain said indifferently. "Kisame Hoshigaki, you're from Kirigakure. How much do you know about Mei?" A monster with aloe vera growing on its shoulder, half black and half white, looked at Kisame Hoshigaki. Its voice was hoarse, like the scraping of metal, sending chills down one's spine. "Madarumi, I never imagined that little girl would become the fourth Mizukage. It's truly nostalgic," Kisame Hoshigaki chuckled, then added, "This woman is strong, possessing both boil-release and fusion-release bloodline limits. She's ruthless and cunning, no less so than Inoki. Even if she's strong, I'll still have to deal with her and teach her that the Akatsuki is not to be trifled with," Kakuzu said bitterly, his anger still burning at the thought of being tricked by the man in black. He wanted nothing more than to tear that man to pieces. "No. For the sake of our great cause, let's not touch her for now," Pain said calmly. "But Hidden. Since the Mizukage sent someone to capture Hidden, it means Hidden is useful to her and won't be in immediate danger. However, we need to investigate her motives for capturing Hidden. Itachi, this matter is entrusted to you." "Yes." Chapter 131 The Angry Hayashi Hyuga. Inside the Hokage's office, Xiao Yun chain-smoked cigarettes, his face grave as he stared out the window. Why had Otsutsuki Aishiki appeared so quickly? If he remembered correctly, Aishiki was searching for a suitable body to achieve his complete resurrection. Once he became a fully fledged Otsutsuki, the current ninja world would be utterly incapable of dealing with such an enemy. What to do? Right, if he remembered correctly, the perfect vessel for Otsutsuki Aishiki was a child named Kalki, and Kalki was from the same era as Boruto, Naruto's son. In other words, if he found this child first, the entire ninja world would be safe. Thinking this, Xiao Yun immediately summoned the Anbu. "Order all Anbu to focus on a child named Kalki, starting today," Xiao Yun said calmly. "Kalki?" the Anbu captain asked, puzzled. "Yes. Do as I say." "Yes, sir." Behind Konoha Mountain, Xiao Yun sat cross-legged. Beside him sat Hataru, who had been continuously casting her raging tensei for 3 hours, the immense natural energy slowly seeping into Xiao Yun's body. Ugh! Ying finally couldn't hold on any longer, letting out a slightly painful gasp before collapsing to the ground. "Lord Hokage, 3 hours is my limit." Beads of sweat covered Ying's forehead as she stared at Xiao Yun in disbelief. This guy was incredibly good at absorbing energy. Anyone else would have exploded long ago with that much natural energy. Go back and rest," Xiao Yun said calmly. "Okay." Ying immediately stopped her rage, and the gathered natural energy dissipated instantly. Just then, Yugao came to Ying's side, looking at Xiao Yun with a resentful expression, and said, "Lord Hokage, although Ying agreed to help you cultivate Sage Mode, you can't torture her like this. It's been 3 days in a row. Don't you care about her? She's not your woman." That was my carelessness. Yugao, don't worry, Ying and I will reduce the frequency and duration in the future, and I won't let her get so tired, Xiao Yun said with a hint of guilt. After the two left, Xiao Yun carefully sensed the natural energy within his body. Unlike a ninja's own chakra, natural energy seems to be able to perfectly fuse with any type of chakra. Take Xiao Yun's wood release and lightning release chakra, for example. Theoretically, using wood release to entangle an enemy and then using lightning release to paralyze them should achieve a very good attack effect. However, in actual combat, Xiao Yun found that due to the insulating nature of wood release, the attack effect of lightning release was not obvious, and it was not as direct as attacking the target with lightning release alone. But if the two are fused with natural energy, the attack effect of lightning release is not diminished. Moreover, natural energy seems to have a powerful amplifying effect on wood release. Take the tree burial technique, for example. Previously, the wooden strips he created were only as thick as a ballpoint pen, but since mastering Sage Mode, the vines are now as thick as a baby's arm, and the attack speed of the vines is at least twice as fast as before. Of course, other wood release ninjutsu have also been enhanced to varying degrees. However, there was also something that left Xiao Yun speechless. After absorbing Sage Chakra, although his physical body was much stronger than before, his main cultivation technique, the 8 gates, had stagnated. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't open the 4th gate. According to Might Guy's explanation, the 8 gates cultivation did indeed require a strong physical body, but it wasn't a case of the stronger the better. When the physical body's strength exceeded a certain threshold, the difficulty of cultivation would increase exponentially. But everything has two sides. Once a breakthrough was made, the power of the 8 gates would also increase exponentially. Even so, the power of Xiao Yun opening the 3rd gate of the 8 gates was no less than the power of Rock Lee opening the 5th gate. However, just how strong was his physical body now, especially what was so special about his body after transforming into a dragon? Xiao Yun really wanted to try it out immediately. In the end, Xiao Yun suppressed this impulse. Jiraiya had said that his ability to transform back into his original form last time was most likely due to the heavenly lightning dispersing the natural energy within his body. If he rashly transformed into a dragon, he might never be able to revert back to his original form. He still had 2 beauties, Tsunade and Samu, to serve, and now there was Kurne. He couldn't very well become a dragon and play with them, could he? Speaking of which, ever since his last dragon transformation, he seemed to have developed an almost perverse fascination with the women, like the romantic scholar Ji Xiaolin, who couldn't live without meat. Was it just dragon nature to be lustful? Tsunade had been avoiding him these past few days because of his antics. Kurne had been taking the antidote Tsunade had prepared and couldn't have sex with him. Samu wasn't around either. Her exquisite figure made Xiao Yun's mouth water. Sigh, there were so many women, but the ones he could touch were too much for him to handle. One was temporarily immobile, and another was far away. Damn it, was he going to have to use his diligent dragon claws again? Xiao Yun was speechless. Xiao Yun, you bastard, you heartless wretch. I finally found you. Just then, a furious shout rang out, and a figure hopped and skipped to his side. Hyuga Hayashi. Xiao Yun, what do you mean? You become Hokage and then turn your back on me? Why have you been avoiding me for so long? I'm asking you, when are you going to marry those 2 girls from my Hyuga clan? Hyuga Hayashi rolled her eyes, glaring angrily at Xiao Yun. Ah, so it's Hyuga Hayashi. I'm sorry for not greeting you sooner, Xiao Yun chuckled. Greet you, my foot. Stop trying to fool me. I'm asking you, when are you going to keep your promise? Don't use Tsunade as a shield. I already asked her, and she said you can do it anytime you want, Hyuga Hayashi said irritably. Hey, old man Hyuga, you shouldn't be like this. Marriage is such a big deal, you should at least cultivate some feelings first. Couldn't you send those 2 women here to serve me for a while? Once we've developed feelings, I'll naturally marry them, Xiao Yun retorted immediately. Actually, Xiao Yun had been delaying the marriage with the Hyuga clan for 2 reasons. Firstly, he didn't want to rely on them and give them ammunition. Secondly, even if he were to marry, he would marry Tsunade first. Tsunade's position as the crown princess was paramount in Xiao Yun's heart. Fine, Xiao Yun, I'll send Hyuga Baiji over today. You can spend some time with her. But I'm telling you now, regardless of whether you marry her or not, I must see her heavily pregnant in 2 months, Hyuga Hayashi said seriously, looking at Xiao Yun. PFFT. Xiao Yun, who was drinking water, spat it out. Hyuga Hayashi, I suggest you go back and relearn biology, Xiao Yun said speechlessly, looking at Hyuga Hayashi. As for Yumi, I'll naturally send her to you once she emerges from her seclusion, Hayashi Hyuga said, then dashed back. Chapter 132 Hinata Shiro. Watching Hyuga Hayashi's departing figure, Xiao Yun was both amused and exasperated. This guy was really going all out for the Hyuga clan. Wait, something suddenly occurred to Xiao Yun. Why was this guy so obsessed with him? Was it just to produce a genius offspring? Even with excellent genes from both parents, the offspring could still be mediocre. Was he hiding something from him? Just as Xiao Yun was racking his brains, 2 figures rushed towards him. Damn it! Xiao Yun looked closely and saw it was that old bastard Hyuga Hayashi again, followed by a stunningly beautiful woman. If he wasn't mistaken, it should be Hyuga Hokuji. Xiao Yun, I've brought her over. Remember to hurry. With that, the old man left the woman beside Xiao Yun and dashed back. Xiao Yun stared speechlessly at Hyuga Hayashi once more. Hello. You must be Hyuga Hokuji? Xiao Yun greeted him proactively. Hyuga Hakuji nodded, her gentle and beautiful face expressionless. The two remained silent, an awkward silence hanging in the air. This scene reminded Xiao Yun of his past arranged dates on Earth. Women who weren't interested in men usually responded with a simple and that was it. The crucial point was that Hyuga Hayashi had brought this woman to him, wanting her to have his child. Knowing this perfectly well, the two were naturally even more embarrassed. After a long while, how about? Come on, Hokage-sama, let's begin, Hyuga Hayashi interrupted Xiao Yun before he could speak. She closed her eyes blankly, slowly removing her kimono, revealing a tight-fitting bodysuit that showcased her perfect figure to Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun frowned slightly. He was lustful, but he had taste. This woman clearly didn't want to go. He had no interest in a dead fish. Put your clothes back on, Xiao Yun said calmly, taking out a cigarette and lighting it. Hokage-sama, aren't you going? Hyuga Hakuji looked at Xiao Yun with suspicion. Rumor had it that Xiao Yun was a lecherous fiend, yet he remained unmoved by her. Hakuji, the Hokage, ask you, did Hyuga Hayashi force you to come? Xiao Yun took a drag of his cigarette and asked. Yes. Hyuga Hakuji replied calmly. I understand. Here's what we'll do, you come back with me, and I'll find you a place to settle down. Of course, if you don't want to, you can return to the Hyuga clan. Don't worry about Hyuga Hayashi, I'll talk to him, Xiao Yun said with a smile. Actually, Xiao Yun had done some research on Hyuga Hakuji. This woman was Hyuga Niji's stepmother. Since Hyuga Niji's father died, many men in Konoha had pursued her, but she had always stayed by Niji's side and never considered marriage. This showed that she deeply loved Niji's father, and her agreement to marry him was likely due to Hyuga Hayashi using Niji to coerce her. I'd better go back with you first. After hesitating for a long time, Hyuga Hakuji decided to go back to the Hokage's camp with Xiao Yun first. Okay, starting today, you'll be assigned to the Anbu and follow me. That old bastard Hyuga Hayashi will definitely come to see you from time to time, we'll talk about it later. Xiao Yun said to Hyuga Hakuji. Thank you. Hyuga Hakuji's face finally stopped being wooden, and there was a hint of gratitude in her eyes when she looked at Xiao Yun. This guy wasn't as lecherous as the rumors in the clan said, and his character seemed pretty good. Hyuga Yoshitaka, I didn't do anything wrong to you, I finally managed to keep my virginity. Hokage's office. Xiao Yun. I brought you your favorite 3-color dumplings, they're in the microwave. If there's nothing else, I'll go back first. I've been so busy these past few days, my back is killing me. Seeing Xiao Yun return, Tsunade hurriedly walked towards the door. She was really afraid of Xiao Yun now. Ever since he started practicing Sage Mode, this guy had been acting like a madman, and she really couldn't handle it. Tsunade was now solely focused on curing Tsunade, and the sisters were working together to share the burden with Xiao Yun. Looking at the alluring Tsunade, Xiao Yun wasn't about to let her go, and swept her up in his arms. Tsunade, there are only oxen that die from exhaustion, not fields that are ruined by plowing. I'm not afraid, so what are you afraid of? Besides, I'll fertilize you. Xiao Yun looked at Tsunade in his arms, a mischievous smile playing on his lips. Xiao Yun, listen to me, my baby's movements have been really strong lately. You don't want anything to happen to our child, do you? Tsunade blocked Xiao Yun's approaching mouth. Xiao Yun looked at Tsunade speechlessly. Although he knew she was probably just making excuses, he stopped. After all, it concerned his child. Tsunade, then sleep with me tonight. Don't worry, I'll only hold you, I won't do anything inappropriate, Xiao Yun said helplessly, forced to compromise. No way. You said the same thing the day before yesterday, and now you've made people unable to walk, while you're sleeping in the office. Just bear with it, my Hokage-sama. After the baby is born, you can do whatever you want with me. Tsunade broke free from Xiao Yun's embrace and dashed out of the office. You just wait until the baby is born and see how I torment you. Xiao Yun glared angrily at Tsunade's departing figure. It was another infuriating night. Damn it, I'd better go find my guy to release this burning, simmering passion. Speak of the devil. Just as Xiao Yun was about to set off to find Might Guy brought Lee over. Xiao. Lee had barely opened his mouth when Might Guy patted the back of his head. Lee smiled awkwardly. Hokage-sama, I'm sorry, I'm just used to calling you that. Lee, master, actually, I'm more used to hearing you call me Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun said with a smile. Rules are rules, they can't be changed arbitrarily, Might Guy said seriously. Don't let his usual goofy demeanor fool you, he's actually quite disciplined. Xiao Yun shook his head helplessly and asked with a smile, by the way, what brings you here so late? Hokage-sama, I've opened the 6th gate. Rock Lee exclaimed excitedly. Really? Xiao Yun looked at Rock Lee in disbelief. He had been stuck at the 5th gate for 3 years, and now he had finally broken through. Absolutely true, Hokage-sama. Although Rock Lee's talent isn't as great as yours, he's truly the most persistent guy I've ever met. Looking at his 2 students, Might Guy's face was filled with pride. One was the youngest Hokage in history, and the other had opened the 6th gate at 15, a life-changing achievement. Congratulations. Such a joyous occasion, we absolutely have to have a drink. Xiao Yun said excitedly. But Hokage-sama, you're so busy with official duties. If Tsunade-sama finds out, I'm afraid you. Might Guy hadn't finished speaking when Xiao Yun waved his hand, interrupting him. All I do is cultivate and process paperwork every day. I'm almost exhausted. As for Tsunade, she's avoiding me like the plague. Let's go for a drink. Okay. Chapter 133 The Powerful Little Lee. In the dead of night, the 3 men carried a large vat of wine directly to their old training ground. They sat down on the ground, each with peanuts and a gourmet spoon, scooping away, one spoonful after another. Before long, all 3 were quite tipsy. Xiao Yun, do you know how many girls have recently come to the Moonlight Izake? Their figures, their looks, tisk, amazing. The drunk Might Guy grabbed Xiao Yun, his face full of lewdness. Damn it, Guy-sensei, you went to Moonlight Izakaya to pick up girls and didn't take me? Little Lee suddenly stood up, glaring angrily at Guy-sensei. Yet, Guy-sensei, you've gone too far. You went out to play without inviting us. Xiao Yun also feigned anger, looking at Might Guy. Might Guy frowned, looking at the 2 with a serious expression, and said, Xiao Yun, you're Hokage now. Going to those kinds of places isn't good for your image. Besides, you have a beauty like Tsunade. You're already busy cultivating your own fields, so don't bother with the wild fields outside. And Lee, aren't you pursuing Sakura Haruno lately? If I take you under the moonlight, what if Sakura sees us? That would be terrible. So, I'm doing this for your own good. Leave the wild fields to this old ox. You 2 need to work hard on your own little plots of land. That's the right path. Might Guy spoke righteously, as if he truly cared for his 2 disciples. Sigh. Lee sighed deeply and downed his drink in one gulp. Why are you sighing so much, Lee? Xiao Yun asked, puzzled. Xiao Yun, I want to ask you, how did you manage to push Tsunade down? Lee asked, looking at Xiao Yun. Ahem, well. Xiao Yun scratched the back of his head, suddenly remembering something, and looked at Lee, asking, Lee, are you having trouble pursuing Sakura Haruno? That's right, I don't know what's so good about that bastard Sasuke Uchiha. Even after leaving Konoha for so long, Sakura is still so attached to him, Lee said resentfully. Xiao Yun thought for a moment, a glint of light flashing in his eyes, and a wicked smile appeared on his lips. I think maybe Sakura thinks you're too weak. What? I'm too weak? You bring Sasuke Uchiha to me, and I'll beat the shit out of him. Lee suddenly stood up, his eyes wide like a bull's. Excuse my bluntness, Lee, Sasuke is very strong now, and handsome too. If I were Sakura Haruno, I couldn't forget him either, Xiao Yun continued. Damn it, God is so unfair. Why did Hao give Sasuke such a handsome face, making Sakura unable to forget him? With that, Lee angrily downed a large spoonful of sake, his body swaying from side to side. Not satisfied with just one spoonful, he simply picked up the jar and poured it into his mouth. Lee, some things are innate. Take me, for example. I'm handsome and strong. I wouldn't even take Sakura's maidservant. Brother, listen to this song. There are plenty of fish in the sea, why be hung up on just one? Xiao Yun gently comforted him. Might Guy, standing nearby, frowned deeply. Was he trying to comfort him? He was clearly stirring things up. Xiao Yun, what the hell are you saying? Don't think that just because you're the Hokage I won't dare hit you. Sakura is the most beautiful woman in my heart, even more beautiful than Tsunade. Apologize to me, or I'll beat you up. Upon hearing this, Lee instantly flew into a rage, smashing the sake jar in his hand. He glared angrily at Xiao Yun, swaying as he assumed a fighting stance. Xiao Yun, Li's had too much to drink. Please don't mind him, Might Guy hurriedly stepped forward. Before he could finish speaking, Xiao Yun waved his hand to interrupt him, whispering, Guy-sensei, I heard that Li's fighting power is incredibly strong when he's drunk. My strength has also improved quite a bit recently, so I'd like to take this opportunity to spar with him. No way. Might Guy quickly shook his head, saying, Xiao Yun, you don't know how strong Li is when he's drunk. If he opens the sixth gate, even I'd probably have a hard time subduing him. Is that so? Then we can't let this opportunity pass us by. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yun not only showed no fear, but his eyes shone with excitement and anticipation. After shoving Might Guy aside, Xiao Yun looked at the dazed Rock Lee and arrogantly said, You want me, the Hokage, to apologize to you? Are you out of your mind? Damn it, what kind of Hokage is this? I'm going to beat up the Hokage. Rock Lee roared, staggering towards Xiao Yun. Watch out! Might Guy shouted urgently. The next second, Rock Lee, who could barely walk, suddenly charged towards Xiao Yun like a cannonball, leaving after images in the moonlight. His speed was astonishing. So fast. Xiao Yun was shocked and quickly crossed his arms to protect his chest. However, the next second, Xiao Yun suddenly felt as if he had been struck by 1,000 pounds in his back. Rock Lee had appeared behind him without him noticing and kicked Xiao Yun away. PFFD Xiao Yun spat out a mouthful of blood, staring at Rock Lee in horror. This guy was not only fast, but his strength had also increased several times over. The key was that he hadn't even opened the 8 gates. But it was good, this kind of battle was meaningful. However, the next moment, Xiao Yun was stunned. Li actually collapsed to the ground and started snoring. Asleep? Xiao Yun frowned. No, he wasn't asleep. The thought had barely crossed his mind when he saw Li slam his hands on the ground, leap up, and charge at Xiao Yun again, cursing, You thought I was asleep? You haven't apologized yet, how could I be asleep? Take this. Xiao Yun quickly circulated his Sage Chakra, greatly enhancing his physical strength. Thump. Like two vehicles colliding, the moment their fists met, a loud impact resounded, and dust flew everywhere. Might Guy was dumbfounded. Even he wouldn't dare take Li's punch head-on, yet Xiao Yun had actually taken it, and without even opening the 8 gates. He never expected these two to be so strong. Might Guy was incredibly excited. With such disciples, what more could a master ask for? After the dust settled, the two men's fists were still locked together, locked in a fierce struggle, seemingly testing their strength. Xiao Yun gritted his teeth, staring at the closed-eyed Li, his mind reeling. He had used Sage Mode Chakra, his physical strength far exceeding what it had been, yet Li could match his power. No, to be precise, Li was stronger. If you were to unleash the 8 gates, how powerful would he be? Was this guy truly a genius, one in a million? HMPH, not bad strength, but you, ugh. Just then, Li vomited. No wonder a whole vat of wine only cost 500 yuan, it was fake. It made me throw up. Xiao Yun, you're Hokage now, why are you still so stingy, buying us a vat of fake wine? I'll kill you. Li muttered incoherently, leaping into the air, unleashing a barrage of punches and kicks, each punch more powerful, each kick faster than the last. For a moment, Xiao Yun was completely unable to retaliate and could only passively defend. 5 minutes passed, and Xiao Li's attacks showed no sign of abating. In fact, he seemed to have entered an automatic combat state, launching all his attacks effortlessly with his eyes closed. Xiao Yun's occasional counterattacks were easily blocked by Xiao Li. With the relentless passage of time, even with the enhancement of his body from Sage Mode Chakra, Xiao Yun felt increasingly overwhelmed. His bones felt like they were about to be broken by this guy. Chapter 124 Ultimate Instinct vs. Immortal Body. Under the moonlight, Li seemed to have entered a state of complete absorption. Each move, though appearing somewhat chaotic, flowed smoothly and flawlessly. Xiao Yun remained on the defensive, unable even to form hand seals to counter with ninjutsu. Actually, Xiao Yun wasn't entirely unable to counter. He possessed powerful lightning release chakra, but he hadn't used it to avoid injuring Li. However, as time passed, Xiao Yun found his defense increasingly difficult. Forced to use his lightning release chakra, he only used about 20% of it. Xiao Yun was stunned. His lightning release chakra was blocked by something on Li's body, unable to harm him at all. Xiao Yun quickly activated his purple-blue eyes, only to see that Li's body was covered by a thick layer of energy, preventing the blue lightning release chakra from reaching him. This guy is truly a freak. Xiao Yun was shocked. With such strength, even Jonin might not be a match for Li. Ultra Instinct. I never thought someone in this world would know Ultra Instinct, it's unbelievable. Just then, a voice from the system rang in Xiao Yun's mind. It was the system's voice. Xiao Yun frowned. Ultra Instinct? Why does that name sound so familiar? System, Xiao Yun, use your full strength, you are no match for him. Xiao Yun, what is Ultra Instinct? Is it that strong? System, please remove the is part. It's a forbidden domain level technique. You must learn this technique if you have the chance. Stop talking nonsense, unleash your full strength, or you will die at his hands. Once this technique is activated, it cannot be stopped until the opponent is defeated. Xiao Yun, holy crap. Xiao Yun was filled with regret. He should have provoked Li. Who knew he would know such an awesome technique? He had never heard Might Guy mention it. Where did this guy learn it? 8 gates, first gate, rest gate, open. Just then, Li suddenly roared, a faint bluish-green aura emanating from his body, his aura more than doubling in power. Taking advantage of the opening of Li's 8 gates, Xiao Yun quickly leaped away, creating distance. 8 gates, second gate, life gate, open. 8 gates, third gate, injury gate, open. 8 gates, sixth gate, death gate, open. Li seemed possessed, opening directly to the 6th gate, his body engulfed in terrifying blue flames, shining like a blue light bulb in the moonlight. His aura surged, terrifying gusts of wind scattering outwards, and a 5-meter diameter crater appeared beneath his feet. This power already made Xiao Yun feel the threat of death. Boom. Just then, Might Guy leaped in front of Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun, you go quickly, I'll hold him off. Might Guy looked at Li with a grave expression. Make way, Guy-sensei, let me handle this. Facing such a formidable enemy, Xiao Yun showed no fear whatsoever, instead displaying unprecedented excitement. Xiao Yun, you're the Hokage. You absolutely can't be harmed. If anything happens to you, An incredibly majestic voice emanated from Xiao Yun's mouth. Instantly, a blue-green flame enveloped Xiao Yun. Upon closer inspection, this flame also contained traces of gold, clearly extraordinary. The two flames faced each other across the void, like two bright light bulbs in the night, radiating dazzling light and instantly attracting many Konoha ninjas. Kai-sensei, go and stop those coming. This battle must be kept secret. Xiao Yun's voice was incredibly authoritative. Even Might Guy, a powerful ninja, couldn't help but feel an urge to bow down in reverence. Yes. Might Guy instantly understood Xiao Yun's meaning. After all, both of them had used their trump cards, and if it were leaked, it would be extremely disadvantageous for them. Might Guy hurriedly rushed out, quickly blocking all the Konoha ninjas who wanted to come and investigate. Of course, there were still some ninjas he couldn't stop, such as Tsunade. Having spent so much time with Xiao Yun, she was very familiar with his aura. And then there was Tsunade. This woman was incredibly perceptive. Seeing Tsunade's expression, she knew that something must have happened to Xiao Yun, and she insisted on coming. Looking at the flustered Tsunade, Might Guy naturally guessed what had happened between her and Xiao Yun. While feeling immense admiration for Xiao Yun, a relieved smile appeared on his face. Asuma, you can go in peace. With Xiao Yun taking care of Tsunade from now on, she will definitely be very happy. Also present were Kakashi, Shikamaru's father Nara Shikoku, and several other core members of Konoha. Everyone stared in shock at the two combatants. Their aura was simply too strong. These two were still young. To possess such strength at such a young age was unbelievable, utterly unbelievable. Might Guy, you're being too reckless. How can you allow them to fight like this? Someone's going to die. Tsunade grabbed Might Guy's collar, angrily stating. That's right, Guy, you're being too reckless. Kakashi frowned, knowing that such a fight would result in serious injury or death for both of them. I'll go notify the entire Konoha medical team. Might Guy, are you out of your mind? Nara Shikoku sighed, looking at Might Guy speechlessly. Guy, tell them to stop. Tsunade, he cried anxiously, her fists clenched tightly, her eyes fixed on Xiao Yun. It won't stop, Might Guy chuckled bitterly, continuing, Once Li gets drunk, unless you knock him out, there's no way to stop him. Then knock him out. If something happens to Xiao Yun, how will you explain to the people of Konoha? Tsunade said anxiously. Even Tsunade sensed a dangerous aura emanating from Li. Tsunade, don't blame Guy-sensei. I asked to spar with Li, Xiao Yun said calmly. Xiao Yun, you're being too reckless. Jiraiya said you can't use Sage Mode, why don't you listen? Kurenai was almost in tears. Xiao Yun turned his dragon head, giving Kurenai a smile to reassure her. Morning Peacock. Just then, Li suddenly leaped into the air, stopping mid-air, and shouted loudly towards Xiao Yun. Chapter 135 The Morning Peacock. In mid-air, Li seemed to have entered a state of complete frenzy. When he shouted the words Morning Peacock, Might Guy was completely dumbfounded. He remembered only using this powerful move once in front of Li. How had Li learned it? Get out of here! Might Guy shouted at the crowd. After a brief moment of confusion, the crowd quickly sensed the danger and fled the center of the battlefield. In an instant, Li in mid-air unleashed a series of punches, countless basketball-sized blue-green flames accompanied by the sound of air being torn apart, rolling towards Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun looked at the approaching blue-green flames, his dragon eyes filled with tension, and even beads of cold sweat appeared on his back. This feeling had only appeared since his last encounter with pain. Although it wasn't as intense as before, it was enough to show that Li had become ridiculously strong. Wood Release, Thousand Needle Strike. The best defense is defense. Xiao Yun immediately unleashed Wood Release, Thousand Needle Strike, combined with Lightning Release Chakra. Hundreds of arm-thick wooden stakes rose from the ground, and countless wooden swords, crackling with purple lightning, split from the stakes, heading straight for the blue-green fireball. Thump, thump, thump. The flames and wooden swords collided head-on, dull thuds echoing everywhere. In mid-air, the burning wooden swords flashed with eerie, dazzling light like fireworks, illuminating the land as if it were daytime. Everyone stared in disbelief at the two clashing forces. They could clearly feel the impact of the fireball colliding with the wooden swords, an impact that even an ordinary Jonin would struggle to withstand for 30 seconds. When did these two become so strong? From the Chunin exams to now, only 3 months have passed, and Xiao Yun's strength has clearly improved many times over. The initial choice of Xiao Yun as Hokage was solely based on his network of connections, specifically, his relationships with Samu, the Hyuga clan, and Tsunade. While his talent was extraordinary, he was ultimately too weak. Now, it seems a huge mistake. With this level of strength, probably no one present, except Tsunade, would dare claim a guaranteed victory. Rock Lee was even more astonishing, now firmly in control of Xiao Yun, redefining everyone's understanding of taijutsu. At this moment, Rock Lee's state became even more frenzied. The speed of his limbs was so fast that even Kakashi, with his Sharingan, could barely see them. The azure flames emanating from his body were not only more intense in color, but also more than twice their previous size. In comparison, while Xiao Yun's wood release hadn't weakened, it paled in comparison to Asahi. Thump, thump, thump. In no time, the wooden stakes on the ground were blasted to dust, leaving countless craters in the ground. Fortunately, Kakashi had planted over a dozen kunai with water-style talismans on the battlefield beforehand, otherwise, such a bombardment would have created a cloud of dust, which would have been extremely disadvantageous for the two who needed to constantly monitor the battle. Xiao Yun dodged and waved, his purple-blue eyes darting around, trying to find an opportunity to counterattack. However, the blue-green fireballs launched by Koga were simply too dense, giving him no chance at all. Roar! Xiao Yun let out a dragon-like roar, slashing out with his claw and shattering two blue-green fireballs that couldn't dodge in time. In that brief moment of pause, Li, seemingly unconscious, immediately seized the opportunity, wildly swinging his limbs. Fireballs immediately rained down on Xiao Yun. An unprecedented solemnity appeared on Xiao Yun's face. He took a deep breath, roared, and the surrounding natural energy frantically gathered towards him. Xiao Yun's entire body shone with a golden light as he swung his dragon claw and charged towards the fireballs. With a swing of his sword, Xiao Yun shattered the fireball into countless points of starlight, scattering them in the air like a vast river of stars, a truly beautiful sight. The deafening booms of explosions echoed around Xiao Yun, yet he remained unfazed, relentlessly shattering the fireballs hurtling towards him. His offense and defense, a battle across the void, were breathtaking. However, As time passed, the natural energy within Xiao Yun's body slowly dissipated. Xiao Yun gritted his teeth, clinging to his dragon form. Damn it, it was a pity he didn't know any sage techniques. He could only rely on his dragon form to fight head-on, otherwise he could have continued to clash with Li. Li, on the other hand, seemed like a perpetual motion machine, his attacks showing no sign of weakening. Kai, what kind of monster is Li? He's incredibly persistent. This is unbelievable. Li's fighting power is already comparable to mine, a genius, an absolute genius. Kakashi stared at Li in utter astonishment. Might Guy, quickly knock Li unconscious. If this continues, Xiao Yun will be beaten to death. Tsunade's beautiful face was filled with worry. Yes, Guy, stop Li quickly. Kurenai was almost in tears. Okay. After a long silence, Might Guy finally gritted his teeth and agreed. It wasn't that he couldn't stop Li, but it was best for Li to fight until he naturally stopped at this moment. This would greatly benefit his future training. If he rashly intervened, Li would definitely resist fiercely without thinking, and injury would be inevitable. More importantly, it would affect his future training. He might never achieve any breakthrough in his cultivation. Last time Li got drunk, it was he who stopped him, causing Li to be stuck at the fourth gate for 3 whole years. If it weren't for Xiao Yun's appearance that spurred him on, Li would have been stuck for who knows how long. Don't interfere. Only by getting infinitely close to death can one comprehend the true meaning of breakthrough. Xiao Yun, seeing Might Guy preparing to open the 8 gates, quickly shouted to stop him. Might Guy was stunned. This guy really was a battle maniac. The others stared at Xiao Yun in disbelief. Had this guy gone mad? After a long silence, Tsunade finally spoke. Let's listen to Xiao Yun. Actually, Tsunade was already regretting making Xiao Yun the Hokage. If he didn't have the title, Xiao Yun wouldn't feel so much pressure and so desperate to become stronger quickly. To become stronger, besides rigorous training, one had to constantly experience battles teetering on the edge of life and death. However, at this moment, Xiao Yun's dragon form finally gave way, and with a bang, he reverted to his original form. Damn it! Xiao Yun cursed. His sage chakra was too low, the transformation time was too short. Wood release, wooden wall technique. Xiao Yun instantly formed hand seals, summoning dozens of wooden walls to block his path. Unfortunately, this defense only lasted about 10 seconds before being blasted to smithereens by the fireball. Xiao Yun had no choice but to keep using wood release. His only option now was to compete with Rock Lee in terms of endurance. Fortunately, as time passed, Li's attacks finally slowed down. Xiao Yun wasn't in much better shape. His wood release and lightning release chakra were nearly depleted, and the natural energy within a 1-mile radius was also exhausted. Luckily, Xiao Yun could still maintain the 8-gate state, relying on agile movement to laboriously dodge the fireballs. Just as Xiao Yun was dodging and weaving, that unsportsmanlike Li actually attacked along with the fireballs. Xiao Yun couldn't dodge in time and was kicked into the air by Li. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 136 Izanagi. In mid-air, Xiao Yun felt a sweet taste in his throat, and a mouthful of blood spurted out. The sound of breaking ribs echoed, and the intense pain nearly made him faint. Before he could even catch his breath, a figure suddenly appeared behind him. Xiao Yun instinctively sensed the approaching danger and tried to dodge, but a thin white strip shot towards him, instantly trapping him like a mummy. The inner lotus. Xiao Yun was horrified. He was doomed. If he were to be crushed, he would surely die. At this moment, Xiao Yun was filled with regret. He shouldn't have shown off. Now it was too late for Tsunade and the others to save him. Li, in mid-air, kicked Xiao Yun head first, clinging tightly to him, his face pressed against Xiao Yun's buttocks, as they plummeted downwards. Xiao Yun! Xiao Yun! Li, wake up! Everyone tried to save Xiao Yun, but it was too late. Thud! A violent impact resounded. Xiao Yun! Tsunade and Kurenai stared blankly at the scene before them, both women collapsing to the ground, their bodies trembling uncontrollably, tears streaming down their faces. A fall of that intensity would have been fatal for anyone. Tsunade couldn't believe her eyes. Xiao Yun was dead? He hadn't even seen his child, hadn't led Konoha back to the pinnacle of the ninja world, and she was supposed to have 10 or 8 more children with him. So many things left undone. How could he be dead? Kurenai, her composure clearly inferior to Tsunade's, coughed up blood and fainted. Hokage-sama! Hokage-sama! Kakashi and Guy rushed over. Boom! Just then, a purple phantom sword suddenly appeared at the point of impact, and a gigantic skull materialized before them. The skull slowly rose into the air, and a massive blue phantom skull gradually took shape. Most importantly, Xiao Yun was floating inside that phantom skull, his fate unknown. What the hell is this? Everyone stared warily at the monster that had suddenly appeared before them. The monster's chakra was incredibly cold, like a demon from the abyss. Its appearance instantly lowered the surrounding temperature by tens of degrees, turning the previously warm environment into the dead of winter. Just as everyone was wondering, Xiao Yun inside the skull suddenly raised his head, his eyes snapping open, the Mangekyou Sharingan. Black blood seeped from the corner of Xiao Yun's eyes, and his face contorted in intense pain. This was Izanagi, summoned by Itachi Uchiha's Mangekyou Sharingan. Indeed, using it was incredibly painful, almost every cell in his body ached. Just moments ago, in the critical moment, Xiao Yun, for some reason, instinctively activated his Mangekyou Sharingan, summoning Izanagi. Fortunately, its appearance had shielded him from Rock Lee's fatal blow, otherwise, Konoha would likely be facing a massacre tomorrow. With a whoosh, the blue phantom vanished instantly, and Xiao Yun's body plummeted straight down. He was completely immobilized, but thankfully Tsunade caught him in time. Xiao Yun, you're not dead. That's wonderful. Tsunade cried tears of joy, hugging Xiao Yun tightly. Come on, finish this cup, there's another one. Finish this one too, and there are 3 more. Just then, Lee staggered out, pulled out a wine cup from somewhere, urinated in it, and prepared to drink it all. Fortunately, Might Guy arrived in time and snatched the cup from his hand. You want to drink? Okay, here you go. I have another cup. Lee pulled out another cup, urinated in it, and made a toasting gesture towards Might Guy. 8 gates, first gate, rest gate, open. Might Guy roared, knocking Lee unconscious, but was sprayed with urine himself. Everyone was both amused and exasperated. At Konoha Hospital, a few hours later, Xiao Yun, with his incredibly strong recovery ability, was already able to get out of bed and walk. After a whole night of fussing, everyone was exhausted. Especially Tsunade, who had been taking care of herself and Kurenai, making Xiao Yun feel incredibly sorry for her. In the early hours of the morning, Tsunade slumped over the bedside and fell asleep. Xiao Yun tiptoed and carried her to bed. Looking at the sleeping Tsunade, Xiao Yun couldn't help but kiss her forehead, feeling an overwhelming sense of guilt. Such a good woman, and he couldn't give her his whole heart. Sigh, I'm such a beast. Beast or not. Hey, Xiao Yun, what are you doing? This is a hospital? Actually, Tsunade hadn't fallen asleep at all. She enjoyed being gazed at gently by Xiao Yun until his actions became increasingly inappropriate, forcing her to stop pretending to be asleep. The battle just now wasn't enough. I want to fight one of the legendary Sannin, Lady Tsunade, Xiao Yun said seriously. No, you big pervert, don't tickle my armpits, ha ha ha, no, stop, hold me tight, you bad guy, you're just getting a little better and you're already trying to mess with me. Even someone as strong as Tsunade didn't know which would come first, tomorrow or an accident. After what happened last night, Tsunade no longer suppressed herself. As long as Xiao Yun didn't hurt the child, he could do whatever he wanted. This man was so reckless for Konoha, for her, any woman would be melted by him. I love you, Tsunade. I love you too, Yun. The two hugged tightly. The next day, as the first rays of sunlight streamed into the ward, the traces of yesterday's battle were still vivid. Tsunade lay lazily in Xiao Yun's arms, her bright eyes never leaving him. She deeply loved this man's wildness in battle, whether with Lee or with her. Yun, you won't blame me for not letting you see Zhianghong these past few days, will you? Tsunade said gently. How could that be? You're doing this for my own good? Xiao Yun smiled faintly. The venom of the viper within Kurenai's body was extremely strange. To ensure Xiao Yun's safety, the two had been kept separate, fearing he might lose control and harm himself. Tsunade. Looking at the stunning beauty in his arms, Xiao Yun couldn't help but feel his blood boil again. Tsunade closed her eyes, a knowing smile on her face. Knock knock knock. Xiao Yun had just kissed Tsunade when there was a sudden knock on the door. Tsunade was annoyed, their precious time had been interrupted. She had wanted to exchange 3,000 blows with Xiao Yun, determined to settle things once and for all. Who is it? Didn't I tell you? The Hokage is resting today, he's not receiving anyone, Tsunade said irritably, still holding Xiao Yun. Uchiha Itachi. A cold voice came from the doorway. Chapter 137 Itachi Uchiha's Warning. At the southernmost edge of Misty Shadow Village, a waterfall cascades down from the sky like a giant silver curtain, connecting heaven and earth. Suddenly, a gigantic bird bursts forth from the waterfall. Upon closer inspection, this flying dragon is clearly not alive, it appears to be made of clay or rubber. Perched atop the bird are two men in black robes adorned with red clouds, one a handsome young man with blonde hair, the other wearing a mask that reveals only one eye. Afei, do you know what true art is? The blonde man asks the masked man with a grave expression. Art? Deidara-senpai, the art I consider, cough cough cough, howly, the masked man chuckles lewdly. Damn it, just say what you want to say. Why the lewd laugh? The man called Deidara glares angrily at the masked man. Art, of course, is beautiful women. For example, Tsunade, the most beautiful woman in Konoha, Samu, the most beautiful woman in Raikage, and of course, Hyuga Yumi from the Hyuga clan. Oh, and that widow Hyuga Hokuji, they're all perfect works of art. The masked man's tone was full of desire, and the only visible black eye gleamed with greed. Baka Yarao. Doesn't my explosion count as art? Deidara clenched his fists, his eyes wide as he stared at Toby. No. Toby said decisively. You die, don't you dare become my clay dragon. Deidara kicked Toby off the dragon. A figure plummeted, shouting, Deidara-senpai, I was wrong. Your explosion is the real work of art. Save me. HMPH. Deidara snorted coldly, and just as Toby was about to hit the ground, the dragon extended a long tongue and wrapped it around him. Deidara-senpai, I knew you wouldn't want me to die. Toby looked at Deidara with gratitude. HMPH. I'm just a little hungry. Go find something to eat, Deidara said coldly. Yes, sir. Toby saluted Deidara and quickly ran into the forest to find food. In the forest, Toby stopped, slowly removing his mask to reveal a handsome left face, but his right face was withered and terrifying. He stood on a tree, looking into the distance with a serious expression, muttering to himself, I didn't expect Itachi to activate Izanagi again. Did he encounter some powerful enemy? Konoha Hospital. Xiao Yun looked at his Anbu subordinate, who was expressionless and staring blankly at him. It seemed he was being controlled by Genjutsu, and the one controlling him was Uchiha Itachi. I really didn't expect you to be able to use Izanagi so quickly. Uchiha Itachi said in surprise. I must thank you. If it weren't for the Mangekyou Sharingan you gave me, I probably would have died yesterday, Xiao Yun said, his voice filled with gratitude. Yes, Itachi, you not only saved my man but also carried such a heavy burden. On behalf of everyone in Konoha, I thank you, Tsunade said, her eyes also filled with admiration. Xiao Yun, remember, although you can use Izanagi, this technique carries extremely high risks, as I think you know. This technique comes at the cost of life. Not only is it accompanied by immense pain, but the pain intensifies with each use. After a certain number of uses, it will cause almost irreversible damage to the body. You must be careful, Itachi Uchiha said calmly. I know, Xiao Yun nodded. He had almost fainted from the pain when he used Izanagi yesterday. It was even more painful than when he was implanted with the cursed seal. Of course, there are also limitations to the use of this technique. Right now, you can only use it once a year at most, Itachi Uchiha said. What? Xiao Yun stared at Uchiha Itachi in astonishment. Such an awesome technique could only be used once a year? Your body isn't that of a member of the Uchiha clan, so it can't properly match the Mangekyou Sharingan. Besides, there are other risks associated with using this technique, Uchiha Itachi said seriously. Other risks? What do you mean? Tsunade asked. When you use Izanagi, certain people will sense it. Right now, you haven't attracted the Akatsuki's attention. If you display too much extraordinary talent, it might bring disaster to Konoha and you. Remember to develop cautiously and don't be reckless. Remember, don't use Izanagi unless absolutely necessary. By the way, you must protect Naruto, the Akatsuki might target him. Also, if possible, try to find the scattered-tailed beasts before the Akatsuki. Once you find them, protect them properly. If you can't, kill them. After Uchiha Itachi finished speaking, the Anbu member in front of him suddenly went limp, collapsed to the ground, and fainted. Itachi-san, Itachi-san. Xiao Yun had a few more questions for Itachi Uchiha, but no matter how he called, there was no response. Looking at the unconscious Anbu on the ground, Xiao Yun's face was heavy. It seemed that he had indeed been too frivolous and impetuous. Now, he was being watched by countless eyes. If he acted too outrageously, it would definitely arouse the suspicion of some people, and might even bring about his death. Not only that, but his Izanagi technique could actually be sensed by some people. Who is it? Could it be a member of the Uchiha clan? If he wasn't mistaken, there were only 3 members of the Uchiha clan left in the ninja world: Itachi Uchiha, Sasuke Uchiha, and the masked man, Obito Uchiha. Could it be Obito? Xiao Yun's face was full of doubt. Yun, don't overthink it. At worst, you just won't use this technique anymore. Tsunade seemed to see Xiao Yun's worry and said softly. Xiao Yun smiled and nodded. No need, no need. My priority right now is to master Wood Release, Lightning Release, 8 Gates, and Sage Mode. The rest can wait. He wasn't worried about Wood Release, he had the system. As his Wood Release chakra evolved, he could learn more Wood Release ninjutsu. As for Lightning Release, after these days of training, he had mastered its chakra. Learning Lightning Release from Kakashi wouldn't be a problem. His biggest headaches were Sage Mode and the 8 Gates. He hadn't made any progress on the 8 Gates, no matter how hard he tried. He also had to consider Ying's physical capacity when training Sage Mode, as each use of the Raging Heaven technique put a huge strain on her body. Besides, he'd heard that Ying and Utakeda had recently gotten into a baby-making scheme, staying home all the time and working themselves to the bone, several times more frantic than him and Tsunade. Grandma Lee, the ninja world is on the verge of a storm, and you two still have the mind to have a baby? Never mind, let's send people to find the tailed beasts first. Tsunade, have your subordinates stop what they're doing and go out to find the Jinchuriki, Xiao Yun said solemnly. Yes, sir. Tsunade didn't dare delay and left the ward. Xiao Yun didn't rush back to the Hokage's office, instead, he went to the back mountain of Konoha. Chapter 138 A Legend of Raichi Cave. Raichi Cave, a legendary place in the ninja world, is on par with Mount Myaboku. No one knows how to enter this mysterious place. Today, the White Snake Sage, who hasn't shown his face for 100 years, has actually summoned all 7 of Raichi Cave's disciples. These 5 disciples are all different shapes and sizes, besides the leader, who is a stunningly beautiful woman. The other 4 are a snake, a crocodile, a lizard, and an octopus. Sister Zhen, do you know why the White Snake Sage summoned us today? Yes, Sister Zhen, you're closest to the White Snake Sage, tell us so we can be prepared. Zhen, we've trained together for so long, could you at least let us know if something's wrong? The group chattered around the woman called Zhen, their faces filled with fear. Zhen smiled at them, then shook her head. Based on past experience, the White Snake Sage's summons never meant trouble. The monsters muttered to themselves, carefully recalling where they had gone wrong recently. Boom! Just then, a huge plume of white smoke flashed through the hall. As the smoke dissipated, a gigantic white snake appeared before everyone. Greetings, White Snake Immortal. Everyone knelt respectfully. For so many years, you have diligently guarded Dragonland Cave. Thank you all for your hard work. The white snake suddenly transformed into a kind old woman. It's what we should do, the 5 disciples said in unison. The White Snake Immortal nodded in satisfaction, her gaze sweeping over the 5 disciples before finally settling on Zhen. You've done well, Zhen. After all these years, you've finally found someone capable of dragon transformation for Dragonland Cave, the White Snake Immortal said, looking at Zhen with satisfaction. Hiss. Upon hearing this, the 5 disciples in the hall gasped in astonishment. A person capable of dragon transformation? They thought it was just a legend, but it turned out there really were people in the world who could transform into dragons. There's a legend in Raichi Cave that whenever a person transforms into a dragon appears in the world, it signifies the arrival of the darkest hour, and only that person can lead everyone out of darkness and into the light. Zhen looked at the White Snake Sage with a bewildered expression, asking in confusion, White Snake Sage, wait a minute, you said I found a person who has transformed into a dragon? Ah, could it be Xiao Yun, the one I planted the heavenly curse seal on that day? Exactly, the white snake sage said with a smile. Zhen stared at the white snake sage in utter shock. The reason she planted the heavenly curse seal on Xiao Yun that day was simply because she didn't want Orochimaru to waste the incredibly rare heavenly curse seal on that worthless Sasuke. So she just randomly found someone with decent talent and planted the heavenly curse seal on him, thinking that with his talent, he could at most develop the heavenly curse seal to the snake sage level. Unexpectedly, this person had unexpectedly transformed into a dragon. You did well, this is your reward. With that, the white snake immortal extended his left hand, and a flash of white light stung everyone's eyes. When the light faded, a white pill appeared in the white snake immortal's hand. A rebirth pill. The disciples' eyes gleamed with greed. This white pill might be useless to others, but it was a treasure to them. To completely shed their demonic forms and become human, they needed to consume 3 rebirth pills. Zhen had already taken 2, with this one, she could become a true human. Thank you, white snake immortal. Zhen excitedly took the pill and swallowed it in one gulp. Instantly, her body shimmered with light, the snake tail hidden behind her disappeared, her yellow eyes transformed into human eyes, and even the occasional urge to stick out her tongue vanished. She was finally human. Zhen almost cried with excitement. For so many years, her dream had finally come true. Alright, Zhen, from today onwards, you will be responsible for secretly protecting Xiao Yun. Unless he is in mortal danger, you are not allowed to intervene. I will be away for 3 years. After 3 years, bring him back to Raichi Cave. I will personally guide him in cultivating immortal arts, the white snake sage said calmly. Yes. Zhen replied respectfully. By the way, I remember you brought Xiao Yun's woman back to Raichi Cave, the white snake sage asked. Yes, should we return her to Xiao Yun? Zhen asked. No need. He already has many women around him. There's a saying among humans, right, too many women only slow down a man's sword-drawing speed, the white snake sage said with a faint smile. The sage is wise. Behind Konoha Mountain for 3 days, Xiao Yun sat cross-legged with his eyes closed, carefully studying every detail of his battle with Lee Sin. Although he almost died in that battle, the benefits were obvious, his 8 gates formation finally showed signs of a breakthrough. Not only that, after that intense battle, his physical strength had increased by at least 100%. The most direct benefit of this increased physical strength was a greater storage of sage chakra. Naturally, the power of the 8 gates also increased accordingly. Actually, what Xiao Yun cared about most was Rock Lee's Ultra Instinct. According to the system, it was a forbidden technique capable of killing gods. However, Rock Lee couldn't remember what happened that day at all, and as for Ultra Instinct, he had no idea what it was, which disappointed Xiao Yun. As the sun set, a masked Anbu appeared beside Xiao Yun. A tight-fitting outfit perfectly accentuated her exquisite figure. A faint fragrance emanated from her, intoxicating and seemingly having a calming effect. This woman was none other than Hyuga Hakuge, the woman Hyuga Hayashi had sent to his side. Lord Hakuge, this is your dinner. A melodious voice rang out, handing over a lunchbox. Xiao Yun opened the lunchbox and saw that the food inside was exquisitely prepared, salmon, sushi, 3-colored takoyaki, and a pot of sake, a feast for the eyes and the palate, making one's mouth water. Thank you, then I won't be polite. Xiao Yun smiled faintly and slowly began to eat. After he had eaten and drunk his fill, the sun had already set, and the moon was half hidden on the horizon. Baiji, is there anything else? Xiao Yun looked at Hyuga Baiji with a puzzled expression. Hyuga Baiji removed her mask and looked at Xiao Yun silently. After a long while, she seemed to have mustered her courage and removed her Anbu uniform. Chapter 139 Two-Tailed. Under the moonlight, Hyuga Hakuge was like a fairy, pure and beautiful. She possessed a body that could drive men mad, yet dared not be profaned. 2 lines of clear tears clung to her gentle and moving face. Hyuga Hakuge, did that old bastard force you again? Xiao Yun put down his chopsticks, looking at Hyuga Hakuge with suspicion. Hyuga Hakuge remained silent, tears streaming down her face, a tacit admission. Just today, Hyuga Hayashi had found Hyuga Hakuge and warned her that if she didn't make any progress with the Hokage, he would expel Hyuga Niji from the Hyuga clan. After a long silence, she finally parted her red lips and slowly said, Hokage-sama, please don't ask any more. As long as I'm pregnant with your child, I'll have completed my mission. Come. With that, Hyuga Hakuge slowly walked towards Xiao Yun. Xiao Yun smiled slightly, and the instant Hyuga Hakuge approached him, he swiftly dressed her. That old scoundrel, by G, don't worry, I'll go talk to Hyuga Hayashi tomorrow. You can go back now, Xiao Yun said calmly. But, before Hyuga Baiji could finish speaking, Xiao Yun waved his hand, interrupting her. At this moment, Xiao Yun sat cross-legged, closing his eyes to rest. Seeing this, Hyuga Baiji had no choice but to turn and leave. Watching her departing figure, Xiao Yun really wanted to slap himself twice. What a hypocrite. Of course, that wasn't the main point. The most important reason was that Xiao Yun sensed an aura locking onto him from not far away. Since cultivating the sage art, Xiao Yun's perception ability had been qualitatively improved, and this aura belonged to Tsunade. A short while after Hyuga Baiji left, Tsunade indeed appeared in front of Xiao Yun. Tsunade, what brings you here? Xiao Yun looked at Tsunade in confusion. Xiao Yun, after spending so much time together, I didn't expect you to have such a gentlemanly side. I thought you'd go after every pretty girl you saw, Tsunade said teasingly. Ahem, Xiao Yun coughed lightly, then said righteously, you saw it all? Actually, having you in my life is enough. With that, Xiao Yun grabbed Tsunade and his hands began to wander. Xiao Yun, you're going to die. We're outside. Tsunade's face instantly turned red. It's more exciting outside. Want to try climbing a tree? Xiao Yun looked at Tsunade in his arms with a lewd expression. Pervert. Tsunade's little pink fists pounded wildly. Let's go. Xiao Yun swept Tsunade up in his arms. Stop fooling around, Xiao Yun, I came to see you with important business, it's about the two tails. Tsunade struggled to break free from Xiao Yun's embrace and said seriously. It turned out that the Konoha ninja had discovered the two tails Jinchuriki, who was currently being hunted by Akatsuki members. The Konoha ninja wanted to rescue her, but Kokuzu was too strong, so the Konoha ninja had to send the message back to Konoha, hoping that Konoha would send a strong person quickly. Tsunade, you stay in Konoha and guard the village. I'll handle this. Xiao Yun said seriously. No, you're the Hokage. You can't always put yourself in danger, Tsunade refused decisively. But right now, besides me, who else in Konoha can take down Kokuzu? Xiao Yun said calmly. All the capable fighters around him had been sent out, and there was no one left to use. Of course, Konoha wasn't without capable fighters, such as the Hyuga clan and the Yamanaka clan. If it was about protecting Konoha, they would naturally go all out. But if it was about doing other things for Xiao Yun, they would slack off as much as possible. In the end, Xiao Yun's foundation in Konoha was still too shallow. Then you must be careful, Tsunade said like a little woman, straightening Xiao Yun's disheveled collar. Don't worry, don't you know your man's strength? Xiao Yun said confidently, then paused for a moment before asking, by the way, what's been happening with Kurigakure and Tsuchikage lately? Those two villages seem to have quieted down a lot recently, harassing Konoha much less than before. And, since that incident, the people from Reiku have been working much harder than before, Tsunade said with satisfaction. That's good, Xiao Yun said, it seemed his scheme to shift blame and frame someone had worked. By the way, take Hyuga Hakuge with you on this mission. It can't go on like this, after all, the Hyuga clan is very strong, Tsunade said seriously. Aren't you jealous? Xiao Yun looked at Tsunade questioningly. As long as you have me in your heart, that's enough, Tsunade said softly. As a woman, how could she not care if her man was with another woman? But Tsunade was a woman of great understanding. Leaving aside the fact that Konoha was still constantly in a state of crisis, even if Konoha wasn't in crisis, resolving the earth-shattering matters Xiao Yun had mentioned would require uniting all available forces. Looking at the understanding and pitiful Tsunade before him, Xiao Yun felt a pang of guilt. What's wrong? Are you moved by my magnanimous wife? Then you must cherish me well from now on, Tsunade said with a smile. I'll cherish you now, Xiao Yun said, hugging Tsunade tightly and jumping into a tree. A gentle breeze blew all night, and the poor tree, bearing the weight of the swing, finally snapped with a crack just before dawn. The surrounding birds were startled and flew away. The two contented lovers nestled together, watching the sunrise in the east. Yun, I really want to be nestled in your arms, Tsunade said, her eyes filled with a dreamy light. I also want to hold you forever, waiting for me to come back, Xiao Yun said gently, kissing Tsunade's forehead. Around noon, Xiao Yun left Konoha with Hyuga Hakuge, accompanied by Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto somehow knew Xiao Yun was going out and insisted on coming along. "Hey, uncle, why is Auntie different this time?" Naruto asked, puzzled. Hyuga Hakuge's face instantly turned bright red. "Ah, I know. Auntie Yumi is the lolly type, and Auntie Hakuge is the mature type. Uncle's looking for a change of pace," Naruto said knowingly. "If you don't speak, no one will think you're mute," Xiao Yun said, kicking him. Unexpectedly, after so many days, Naruto's reaction speed had become incredibly fast. He dodged, and Xiao Yun's kick missed. "Uncle, I'm very strong now." Naruto looked at Xiao Yun smugly. "Is that so?" Xiao Yun sneered. Suddenly, Xiao Yun reappeared behind Naruto. The Xiao Yun before Naruto was actually a wood-release clone. 1,000 years of death? Xiao Yun used a twig instead of a finger. "Ouch!" Naruto cried out, jumping high while clutching his backside. "You're Hokage now, and you still use such a low-down technique? 1,000 years of death, huh? You just wait, one day I'll give you a taste of your own medicine," Naruto roared. "Fine, I'll wait," Xiao Yun said mockingly, looking at Naruto. Seeing the two of them, Hyuga Hakuge couldn't help but chuckle, especially at Xiao Yun. Through their time together, she had discovered that this man was indeed outstanding, strong, handsome, and, most importantly, upright and sometimes quite funny. No wonder Tsunade fell for him. "Hakuge, don't misunderstand. The reason I brought you along on this mission was to give you some peace and quiet, so you wouldn't be bothered by him every day," Xiao Yun said, walking to Hyuga Hakuge's side. "I know, thank you, Hokage-sama." Hyuga Hakuge felt a warmth in her heart. Chapter 140 Re-encounter with Zabuza. Before they knew it, the three of them had been away from Konoha for a whole day, covering 1,000 kilometers at their pace. Xiao Yun looked at Hyuga Hakuge beside him, quite surprised. This woman looked so delicate and frail, yet her stamina was incredible. She had been running continuously for a day and a night without even blushing or a racing heart. Naruto, on the other hand, was exhausted. Finally, Naruto stopped on a large tree, panting heavily. "You two are really weirdos. No more running, no more running, I really can't run anymore. Uncle, and, let's rest." Naruto plopped down on the tree, pulled out the water cup hanging from his waist, and gulped it down. "Get up right now." Xiao Yun picked Naruto up. The Two Tails was being chased by the Akatsuki. There was no time to rest here. "Naruto-kun, how about I carry you?" Hyuga Hakuge walked to Naruto's side and said gently. Perhaps because Naruto and Niji's experiences were so similar, Hyuga Hakuge felt a deep pity for Naruto. Seeing him panting heavily, Hyuga Hakuge's maternal instincts surged. "Auntie still loves me the most," Naruto said, stretching out his hands, indicating that Hyuga Hakuge should carry him. "Run yourself. You want a woman to carry you? Have you no shame?" Xiao Yun said irritably, pulling Naruto up. "Uncle's a stingy guy. Auntie's only for you to use, but I can't?" Naruto glared angrily at Xiao Yun. "Xiao Yun, what kind of inappropriate talk is this? Listen to me carefully, if you slack off, don't come on missions with me again," Xiao Yun said, speechless, looking at Naruto. "Hokage-sama, he's still a child. He's been running all day, he's exhausted." Hyuga Hakuge frowned slightly, a hint of dissatisfaction in her voice. That's right. Auntie still knows how to care for people." Naruto dashed to Hyuga Hakuge's side. Alright, I'll carry you." Xiao Yun snatched Naruto away. "No, I want Auntie to carry me." Naruto protested loudly. "If you say another word, I'll make you run yourself." Just as Xiao Yun hoisted Naruto onto his shoulder, he suddenly flashed to Hyuga Hakuge's side, grabbed her, and slammed her to the ground. Swish swish swish, a large, spinning sword flew past the three of them at lightning speed, its hilt striking a tree trunk with a clang. A figure flashed on the sword, and a tall, thin man suddenly appeared before them. Xiao Yun stared coldly at this man. "Mamachi Zabuza. How could you be here?" "Xiao Yun, I never expected to run into you here." "No, I should address you as Hokage-sama," a chilling voice rang out. "Zabuza Mamachi, if I remember correctly, I saved your subordinate Haku's life during the Chunin exams. Is this how you treat me?" Xiao Yun's tone was filled with anger. If he hadn't reacted quickly, Hyuga Haku would probably be beheaded. Zabuza Mamachi turned around, looked at the group calmly, and said with a hint of guilt, I didn't know it was you. I was entrusted to stop ninjas from entering the forest ahead. I'll let you go this time. From now on, we're even. You can leave. Stopping ninjas from entering the forest ahead? Xiao Yun looked at Zabuza Mamachi in confusion and asked, why? You asked too many questions. Zabuza jumped onto a tree branch, drew his large sword, pointed it at Xiao Yun, and said coldly, Haku. Xiao Yun gave Hyuga Haku a wink. Hyuga Haku understood and immediately used his Byakugan. Such immense chakra. Hokage-sama, there's a massive chakra burst 5 kilometers ahead. It looks like the Two Tails. Wait. The Two Tails seems to be being chased, Hyuga Hakuji said anxiously. Zabuza, you're working for the Akatsuki, aren't you? Xiao Yun asked. I don't know anything about small or large organizations. Whoever pays me, I work for them. I'll say it again, get lost. Otherwise, once my patience runs out, you won't be able to leave. Zabuza said impatiently. Zabuza, I'll give you a chance. Get lost, Xiao Yun said calmly, looking at Zabuza. What did you say? Say it again. Zabuza looked at Xiao Yun in surprise, rubbing his ears, thinking he'd misheard. Get lost. What? You're telling me to get lost? Ha 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 ha. Zabuza let out a wild laugh, as if he'd heard the best joke he'd ever heard. Suddenly, the laughter stopped abruptly. Zabuza glared at Xiao Yun with fierce eyes and said, a piece of trash who became Hokage by relying on women dares to be arrogant in front of me. I'll ask you one last time, are you going to get lost or not? I'll ask you one last time too, are you going to get lost or not? Xiao Yun said calmly. Fine, fine, I've given you your chance. You're courting death, so don't blame me. With that, Zabuza leaped high into the air, raising his great sword and bringing it down fiercely. Xiao Yun, seeing Zabuza charging towards him, simply pushed aside Naruto and Hyuga Hakuji, and easily blocked with a kunai. Xiao Yun effortlessly blocked it. Zabuza was shocked. This guy was incredibly strong. He had fallen from a great height, using not only gravitational potential energy but also the weight of the great sword itself, yet Xiao Yun had blocked it so effortlessly. This guy was just a Jinan not long ago, his growth rate was unbelievable. Suddenly, a blue light flashed from Xiao Yun's body. Clearly, it was the release of lightning release chakra. Although his lightning release chakra hadn't improved significantly since his battle with Rock Lee, Xiao Yun's control over it had reached a level of complete mastery. For example, right now, Xiao Yun could create a lightning release cloak from his chakra, just like Samuel of the Raikage village. This not only provided incredibly strong defense but could also be used defensively. Most importantly, it greatly activated his physical vitality, significantly increasing his physical strength. Danger. Zabuza suddenly felt a jolt of surprise. Years of combat experience made him instinctively drop his great sword and perform a backflip, leaping away from Xiao Yun. Quite quick reaction. Xiao Yun sneered. If he had hesitated even a second longer, his lightning release could have traveled along Zabuza's great sword and struck him directly. Chapter 141 Instant Kill of Zabuza. In the forest, Zabuza stared intently at Xiao Yun. From that single attack, he was certain Xiao Yun's strength was no less than his own. Xiao Yun, you forced me to this. A ruthless glint flashed across Zabuza's face. Zabuza formed hand seals, and a thick fog suddenly rose from the once clear forest. His figure blurred and vanished without a trace, a palpable killing intent spreading around him. Hokage-sama, that's the mist release technique of the hidden mist village. Be careful. Hyuga Hakuji drew a kunai, her beautiful face filled with vigilance. Damn it, what bad luck. We ran into a Jonin halfway here. Uzumaki Naruto also assumed a fighting stance. Xiao Yun looked in the direction Zabuza had disappeared, a cold smile playing on his lips, his eyes flashing with a brilliant purple-blue light. 1, 2, 3, 10 Under the gaze of his purple-blue eyes, Xiao Yun clearly saw Zabuza conjure 10 clones, each staring intently at the three of them. Hokage-sama, be careful. Hyuga Hakuji also noticed the number and location of the clones. In terms of observation, the Byakugan is even more powerful than the Sharingan. Zabuza's mist release technique was naturally exposed under the watchful eyes of both. HMPH, as long as I take down that woman from the Hyuga clan, the other two are nothing to worry about, Zabuza sneered from within the mist. Clearly, Zabuza was unaware of Xiao Yun's abilities, only regarding Hyuga Hakuge as the greatest nemesis of mist-release ninjutsu. I'll take you down first. Zabuza moved, and 10 clones attacked Hyuga Hakuge almost simultaneously. Rotation. Hyuga Hakuge shouted, her entire body spinning rapidly, quickly forming a huge, rapidly spinning, light blue sphere, whipping up gusts of wind, a truly powerful sight. The 10 clones attacking Hyuga Hakuge exploded the moment they touched rotation, turning into puddles of water that fell to the ground. So strong. Xiao Yun, who was not far away, was about to make a move. He hadn't expected this woman to be so strong, managing to take down 10 clones in an instant. She was quite something. After Zabuza's clones disappeared, Hyuga Hakuge also stopped spinning, took a deep breath, and coldly stared at the puddles of water on the ground. Huh? Something's wrong, danger. Xiao Yun moved with lightning speed, appearing beside Hyuga Hakuge in the blink of an eye. He swept her up in his arms and leaped dozens of meters away. In the instant Xiao Yun left, the puddles of water on the ground instantly gathered together, turning into a transparent water sphere. If Xiao Yun hadn't acted in time, Hyuga Hakuge would have been trapped inside. Looking at the water sphere, Hyuga Hakuge gasped, inwardly thanking him for the close call. Are you alright? Xiao Yun looked at Hyuga Hakuge in his arms with concern. I'm fine, thank you. Hakuge-sama, your eyes? Hyuga Hakuge looked at Xiao Yun's purple-blue eyes in surprise. This is my bloodline limit, Xiao Yun casually made up an excuse. Hakuge-sama, could you please let me go? Hyuga Hakuge said shyly. Only then did Xiao Yun realize that his left hand was covering a place it shouldn't be. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Xiao Yun quickly put Hyuga Hakuge down, but he was surprised. Tisk tisk tisk, he couldn't even control his big hand. He's got some skills. Looking at Xiao Yun, Hyuga Hakuge's heart couldn't help but flutter. Since her husband's death, this was the first time a man had touched her. For some reason, she didn't feel disgusted, and even felt a slight flutter, even hoping that Xiao Yun would shamelessly not let her go. No, I can't do this. I swore that I would never let a man touch a single finger of me again in my life. I can't betray the deceased Hyuga Yoshitaka. Watch out. Just as Hyuga Hakuge was struggling with her inner turmoil, dozens of water-shaped daggers rushed towards the two of them. Xiao Yun grabbed Hyuga Hakuge and pulled her into his arms, letting the daggers hide him. A series of loud bangs echoed, sending chills down the spines of those affected. A thick cloud of smoke billowed up, seemingly highly corrosive, making it impossible to open one's eyes. HMPH, you choose the path to hell when heaven is there, Zabuza sneered from within the mist. Suddenly, a deafening roar erupted, and a ball of flame, a mixture of green, blue, red, and white, shot skyward, the powerful blast instantly dispersing the surrounding smoke. It turned out that in that critical moment, Xiao Yun had instantly activated the 8 gates. Unlike the usual green flames, Xiao Yun's 8 gates now emitted 5 colors. In addition to the original green, there were blue, red, and white. Blue and red represented the colors of thunder and lightning, while white was the color produced by absorbing sage chakra. The power was incomparable to before, all thanks to his battle with Rock Lee that day, but how much stronger it was than before, Xiao Yun himself didn't know. Perfect timing to test my sword on that blind fool's Zabuza today. Looking at the imposing and domineering Xiao Yun, Hyuga Hakuge's mind went blank. She could only cling tightly to him, her Byakugan eyes filled with gratitude. In just 1 minute, this man had saved her twice. Hakuge, you're injured. Go rest for a bit. I'll go kill this guy and then heal you. Xiao Yun put Hyuga Hakuge down from his embrace. He noticed her calf was cut by a water blade, bleeding profusely. Hyuga Hakuge nodded subconsciously. To her, Xiao Yun's voice seemed to possess a special magic, irresistible. Looking at Xiao Yun's handsome face, Hyuga Hakuge's heart pounded. She seemed to have forgotten her injury. After the thick fog dissipated, Zabuza could no longer hide. Looking at Xiao Yun, Zabuza felt an unprecedented sense of danger. This guy had actually dispelled his mist escapade with just his own ki. So strong. I'm no match for you, run. Zabuza thought decisively, turning and fleeing. Trying to run? Too late. Xiao Yun sneered, chasing after Zabuza like a meteor. Danger. The thought had barely crossed Zabuza's mind when a ball of fire hurtled straight at him. Instinctively, he tried to dodge. Unfortunately, his body couldn't keep up with his mind. Thud. A scream rang out, blood rained down, and Zabuza's arm was severed by a punch, falling to the ground. Zabuza groaned in pain, clutching his wound. Xiao Yun picked up Zabuza's greatsword and slowly walked to his side. Zabuza, I gave you a chance, Xiao Yun said, slowly raising his sword. Looking at Xiao Yun, who seemed like a god of death, Zabuza panicked completely, cursing inwardly. You were so strong, why didn't you say so earlier? How the hell was I supposed to know you were this strong? If I had known, I wouldn't have taken this job even if you killed me. But there's no going back. Ultimately, everyone pays the price for their ignorance and arrogance, though some suffer a more severe fate, paying with their lives. Stop. Just then, a sharp shout rang out. Chapter 142 I choose to believe in you, Naruto. Xiao Yun looked in the direction of the voice and saw a masked ninja appear behind him. Beside her was a woman bound tightly, Hyuga Hakuji, who had already fainted. Release her, Xiao Yun said coldly, staring at the masked ninja. What a pity, Hokage-sama, I never expected we'd meet again under these circumstances, a melodious voice rang out. The person slowly removed their mask, revealing a beautiful face. Xiao Yun looked closely. It was Haku, the ninja he had saved during the Shinam tournament. Hokage-sama, as long as you release Zabuza-sama, I promise I won't harm a single hair on this woman's head, Haku said, a hint of guilt in their voice. After all, they were threatening their savior, but for Zabuza, all that mattered. How dare you threaten my uncle? You ungrateful bastard. Suddenly, a roar erupted, and a figure burst from the ground, undoubtedly Naruto Uzumaki. This guy is cunning. He used shadow clone jutsu from the very beginning of the battle, while his real body remained hidden in the ground, waiting for Xiao Yun to fall into a disadvantageous position so he could emerge as a hero to save the Hokage, then return to the village to spread the word and impress Sakura Haruno. Looking at Naruto, Haku remained calm, easily dodging the attacks. However, Hyuga Haku was rescued by Naruto. Haku, shocked, tried to chase after him but was kicked away by Xiao Yun, landing next to Zabuza and coughing up blood. Well done, Xiao Yun couldn't help but smile with satisfaction. So, what are your last words? Xiao Yun coldly looked at the two. He had no intention of being a saint. Although he liked these two characters when he watched Naruto, he wouldn't let his enemies go just because he liked them. Repaying kindness and avenging wrongs was his nature. One had tried to kill him, the other threatened him, and he had even saved Haku's life. Xiao Yun naturally wouldn't let these two go. They had to die today. Lord Hokage, release Lord Zabuza. I'll trade my life for his. Haku knelt down abruptly, his eyes filled with endless pleading. No, Lord Hokage, release Haku. He's just a child. Zabuza, clutching his wound, forced himself to kneel before Xiao Yun, enduring the pain. Oh ho. Trying to play the victim? I'm not buying it. Xiao Yun had long since experienced the cruelty of the ninja world. Mercy to the enemy is cruelty to oneself. If you were in their shoes, these two would most likely not show any mercy. Die? Xiao Yun's face hardened, and he raised his greatsword to strike at the two. Wait. I know some important information about Jiraiya. At the critical moment, Zabuza suddenly shouted. Xiao Yun abruptly stopped his sword, looking at Zabuza with suspicion. Information about Jiraiya? Tell me. If I tell you, will you let us go? Zabuza asked doubtfully. You have no right to negotiate with me, speak. Xiao Yun placed his sword against Bai's shoulder, coldly staring at Zabuza. Seeing this, Zabuza felt an overwhelming sense of sorrow. He was always the one threatening others, but today he was being treated this way. Truly, karma is a wheel, and no one escapes its judgment. Fine, I'll talk, Lord Jiraiya. Zabuza endured the intense pain and spoke haltingly. A few days ago, Zabuza had accepted a mission to assassinate a merchant in Ukage village. On the way, he encountered an injured ninja who looked like Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin, and seemed to be being chased. Xiao Yun was shocked. Jiraiya had indeed gone to Ukage village to investigate the Jashin, so Zabuza's words were true. Who are those chasing Jiraiya? Xiao Yun asked quickly. I only caught a glimpse from afar. They were all carrying giant scythes, and they gave off a very evil aura, Zabuza said. Xiao Yun remained silent upon hearing this. Jiraiya was one of Konoha's top fighters. He absolutely couldn't be harmed and had to be rescued immediately. Fortunately, Jiraiya had given him a contact frog, so finding him wouldn't be difficult, but now he also had to rescue the two tails. Damn it, misfortunes never come singly. After a long while, Naruto suddenly stepped forward, looked at Xiao Yun, and said with unwavering determination, "Uncle, you go rescue Lord Jiraiya, and I'll rescue the two tails. Let's split up." Xiao Yun frowned upon hearing this and said, "No, it's too dangerous. The one hunting the two tails is from the Akatsuki, you're no match for them. Uncle, don't underestimate me. I not only know the Rasengan now, but I've also fused wind release into it. You might not even be able to catch it." Naruto looked at Xiao Yun smugly. Xiao Yun was shocked upon hearing this. He hadn't expected this guy to have learned wind release, Rasengan so early. This was an S-rank ninjutsu, with ridiculously high power. "Uncle, don't worry. Don't forget I still have the 9 tails inside me. If I really can't beat them, I'll just run away," Naruto said. Xiao Yun thought about it, and what Naruto said made sense. After all, judging from his behavior just now, this guy was indeed quite sleazy, completely unlike the Naruto he used to watch in Naruto. "Alright, in that case, Naruto, I choose to believe you," Xiao Yun said solemnly. "I guarantee I'll complete the mission, Hokage-sama," Naruto said excitedly. Xiao Yun smiled faintly, formed hand seals, and created a clone. He grabbed Zabuza, put the sword to his neck, and looked at Haku with a fierce expression, saying, "Haku, I need you to accompany Naruto to complete his mission, otherwise, I'll kill Zabuza." "You?" Haku looked at Xiao Yun angrily. The group that hunted the two tails were a group of S-rank wanted criminals. The thought of making enemies of them made his scalp tingle. "I'm warning you, I'll take Zabuza to a safe place and leave a wood-release clone to take care of him. If you dare to try anything funny, I'll send you a Zabuza part every day from now on." Xiao Yun's face was filled with cruelty. "Fine, I promise you," Bai said through gritted teeth. He always threatened others like this when he was with Zabuza, but he never expected someone to be in such danger today. This feeling was truly unpleasant. However, the situation was beyond his control. If he didn't agree, Xiao Yun would immediately kill him and Zabuza. "Bai, what did you do to her?" Xiao Yun pointed at Hyuga Hokuji, looking at Bai coldly. Bai didn't speak, but simply took out a bottle of pills and handed it to Xiao Yun. It turned out that after being injured by Zabuza's water release, combined with a special powder, it could knock out the enemy. Just now, Bai had used the special powder to knock out Hyuga Hokuji, otherwise, with Hyuga Hokuji's strength, even if she was injured, she couldn't have been subdued by Bai in such a short time. Give her the pills in the bottle, she'll wake up immediately. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 143 Wind Release, Rasengan. Xiao Yun left behind 3 wood-release clones. One was to guard Zabuza, while the other 2 accompanied Naruto and the others to rescue the two tails. Each of the 2 wood-release clones possessed 1/10 the strength of the original. After reviving Hyuga Hokuji, Xiao Yun parted ways with Naruto, taking her with him. "Hokage-sama, please put me down. I'm almost fully recovered," Hyuga Hokuji said shyly. Sensing the intense hormonal aura emanating from Xiao Yun, Hyuga Hokuji felt a surge of infatuation. She feared that if they continued to be so close, she would fall for him. For some reason, even a glance at Xiao Yun made her blush and her heart race. The more Hyuga Hokuji tried to suppress her excitement, the more she couldn't help but steal glances at Xiao Yun. "It's alright. You're not fully recovered yet. Carrying you won't affect my speed," Xiao Yun smiled faintly. To reassure Hyuga Hokuji, he even increased his speed. Hyuga Hokuji fell silent upon hearing this, simply clinging tightly to Xiao Yun's neck, her exquisite face pressed against his back, letting herself be enveloped by his masculine aura. The feeling was simply too wonderful. A shameful thought even flashed through Hyuga Hokuji's mind. If Xiao Yun hugged her from the front, like he did with Tsunade, that feeling would be, "Oh my god, what am I thinking?" Hyuga Hokuji's face burned. How could she have become so wanton? No. No. "Hey, Hokuji, why is your face so hot? Are you feeling unwell?" Xiao Yun suddenly felt a heat on his back and asked. Nothing," Hyuga Hokuji said weakly. Inside an abandoned building, Who exactly are you people? A woman with a seductive appearance and daring attire knelt on one knee, panting heavily, her body covered in wounds and blood, her eyes filled with fear as she looked at the man in the black fiery cloud robe before her. The man before him was far too strong, even in his tailed beast form, he was no match for him. Two Tails, stop struggling. Just come with me obediently, or you'll suffer more. The sound of metal scraping against metal sent chills down his spine. If Xiao Yun were here, he would recognize this man as Xiao-san, the one he had fought before. While I may not be your match, capturing me won't be easy. Besides, our village's ninjas are on their way. If you know what's good for you, hurry up and leave, or you might not escape unscathed once my teammates arrive, the Two Tails Jinchuriki sneered. Is that so? I've been chasing you for so long. Your teammates should have arrived by now. Why haven't they come yet? Kakuzu looked at the Two Tails Jinchuriki with disdain. The Two Tails Jinchuriki remained silent. Given how long he had been chased, and how long the village's ninjas hadn't seen him, they should have sent people to search for him long ago. Moreover, he had a special tracking mark on him, his accomplices in the village should have found him easily. What was going on? The expression on the two-dimensional Jinchuriki's face grew increasingly grim. Let me tell you the truth, I've already arranged for ninjas to snipe any arriving reinforcements from the outside. So, you can just die in peace. A ruthless glint flashed across Kakuzu's face as his left hand suddenly flew from his body, slamming down fiercely towards the Two Tails Jinchuriki. Boom! The immense impact kicked up a cloud of smoke. The Two Tails clutched its most severely injured abdomen, painfully leaping to its feet. Although it barely dodged Kakuzu's attack, the sheer force of the impact caused it to lose its footing upon landing, slamming heavily to the ground, blood gushing out. Shirai. Before the Two Tails Jinchuriki could react, Kakuzu instantly appeared beside her, raising his iron fists and bringing them crashing down. The Two Tails Jinchuriki closed its eyes in despair, it had no strength left to dodge this fatal blow. Goodbye, my friends. However, at this critical moment, 5 ice mirrors suddenly appeared before the Two Tails Jinchuriki. Bang! The ice mirror shattered, countless fragments flying everywhere. When Kakuzu looked again, the Two Tails had already been rescued by several unfamiliar ninjas. The Two Tails Jinchuriki, who had been in despair, was overjoyed. After waiting for so long, her allies had finally come to her aid. But when she opened her eyes, she saw 2 unfamiliar ninjas. Huh? Who are they? Ninjas from Konoha? Kakuzu said coldly, looking at Naruto's headband, then fixing his gaze on Haku. A look of doubt appeared in his eyes as he asked, aren't you Zabuza's lackey? Did Zabuza tell you that he's working for me now? Mr. Zabuza has reformed. From now on, he is sworn enemies of evil, Naruto said calmly. You mean Zabuza has joined forces with your Konoha? Kakuzu looked at Naruto with suspicion. Correct. Too bad there's no reward. Haku, you take the Two Tails Jinchuriki and go first. I'll cover the rear. Naruto leaped, blocking between Haku and Kakuzu. You mere brats, you dare to try and stop me? Fine, I'll kill you first, then settle accounts with Zabuza later. Kakuzu snorted coldly, removing his outer garment to reveal a patched-up body with several masks covering his heart, looking incredibly creepy. Lightning release, false darkness. Kakuzu suddenly formed hand seals, and the blue mask on his body opened its mouth, a bolt of blue lightning flashing and churning within. Be careful, his lightning release ninjutsu is very strong. The Two Tails Jinchuriki shouted, despair rising in his heart. The reason was simple, the 2 ninjas who came to his rescue looked ordinary, they were no match for this monster. Haku, run. Multiple shadow clone technique. Naruto roared, instantly conjuring over 200 clones that blocked their path. This. Everyone was stunned. What kind of freak was this guy? He could conjure so many clones at once. Most ninjas could only manage 20 clones at most. The shadow clone technique required not only a massive amount of chakra but also extremely precise chakra control, both were indispensable. Hope rekindled on the Two Tails Jinchuriki's face. This guy was so strong, maybe he wouldn't die today. Kakuzu on the opposite side was also stunned. What kind of monster was this guy? After a brief moment of shock, Kakuzu regained his composure, a hint of disdain on his face. He sneered, fool. You think you can escape from me just because you outnumber me? Utterly naive. Boom. Just then, A dazzling light erupted from the blue mask on Kokuzu's chest. Naruto waved his hand, and all his clones surged forward, forming a straight line to block the incoming lightning. Boom 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 boom, white smoke billowed as the clones vanished one after another. In no time, Naruto's clones were completely exhausted. As the smoke cleared, a buzzing sound rang out, and a rapidly spinning pale blue Rasengan appeared in Naruto's hand. Naruto took a deep breath, and in an instant, the Rasengan's spinning speed increased again. With the increased speed, the Rasengan in Naruto's hand compressed to an extreme, looking like a spinning pot lid. Wind release, Rasenshuriken complete. Uzumaki Naruto raised the Rasengan high above his head, aiming at Kokuzu, but didn't rush to throw it. Kokuzu's brows furrowed, his previous contempt gone, replaced by a solemn expression. Even from this distance, he could clearly feel the power of this technique. If hit, he would surely die a horrible death. Chapter 144 Sneak Attack Fails. Inside the building, Kokuzu stared intently at the Rasengan in Naruto's hand. While the technique looked incredibly powerful, it had a fatal flaw. Precise throwing was crucial for effectively killing the enemy. With his speed, dodging it wouldn't be difficult. Thinking this, Kokuzu regained his composure. However, to Kokuzu's dismay, the two tails had vanished. Damn it! Kokuzu couldn't help but curse. But every cloud has a silver lining. Although the two tails had escaped, this brat was clearly a wind-release chakra user, and an extremely powerful one at that. If he captured him, forced him to learn this ninjutsu, and then took his heart and placed it within himself, his strength would undoubtedly increase dramatically, potentially even making him equal to Pain. Thinking this, Kokuzu's eyes gleamed with greed as he looked at Naruto. HMPH, brat, if I'm not mistaken, this technique, while powerful, can only be used once in a short time. You'd better seize the opportunity, Kokuzu said mockingly. In battles between experts, the most taboo thing is to be impatient. The reason he said this was to disrupt Naruto's mind and prevent him from concentrating. Use it once in a short time? Naruto sneered inwardly. Logically speaking, that was indeed the case. Such a ninjutsu that consumes a lot of chakra is generally difficult to use again in a short time. But who was he? He was the man who possessed the Nine Tails, and since he and Xiao Yun signed the Master-Servant Mutual Aid technique, the Nine Tails had become a different person, incredibly generous to Naruto, using its chakra freely, of course, provided Naruto's body could withstand it. Moreover, Xiao Yun's wood-release clones had already been secretly lurking near Kokuzu. As long as they were caught off guard, they could most likely achieve a decisive victory in one strike. Just as Naruto's thoughts flashed through his mind, a stone under Kokuzu's feet quietly shattered, and several vines as thick as a baby's arm suddenly shot out, quickly wrapping around Kokuzu. It must be said that Kokuzu's years of combat experience had honed his keen awareness of danger. With a backflip, he dodged the vines. However, vines were already waiting at his landing spot. At the critical moment, he used a fire release technique, catching the recoil, followed by another backflip and a 720-degree mid-air spin, perfectly dodging Xiao Yun's clone's ambush. His movements were remarkably graceful. Kokuzu finally landed on an iron pillar, looking at Naruto earnestly and saying, "Kid, I didn't expect you to be so unethical, using your accomplices to ambush a 169-year-old comrade like me. Is that alright? That's not good. Ninja duels are about fairness and honor. I hope you'll think twice." Although Kokuzu appeared relaxed, he was incredibly vigilant. The technique that had just ambushed him was a wood-release technique, indicating a powerful enemy lurking in the shadows. He had to be extremely careful, or he might be caught off guard. Naruto, watching from afar, felt a deep sense of regret. Kokuzu had initially thought that Xiao Yun's wood-release would be enough to entangle this guy, allowing him to deliver a fatal blow. However, Xiao Yun's reaction speed was unexpected, allowing him to dodge. At this moment, Xiao Yun's wood-release clone ceased hiding and emerged from the ground. A clone again? Where's the real body? Years of combat experience allowed Kokuzu to immediately recognize the two as clones. For some reason, Kokuzu felt a sense of déjà vu with the two wood-release clones, but he couldn't recall where he had encountered them before. Ah, I remember now, this is the fifth Hokage, Xiao Yun. Kokuzu slapped his forehead. He had seen Xiao Yun's portrait at the gold exchange. Now, Xiao Yun's head was worth 30 million. He felt as if he had fought Xiao Yun before. Kokuzu racked his brains, but he couldn't recall when he had fought Xiao Yun. Just as Kokuzu was wondering, two wood-release clones rushed towards him from the left and right. Kokuzu dared not be careless. For some reason, seeing Xiao Yun gave him a feeling of seeing Hashirama Senju. Fire release, head hardening. Kokuzu used it again. Because this was a temporary replacement fire release ninja heart, and the ninja wasn't very strong in life, the fire release he used this time wasn't very powerful. But Kokuzu's target was clear. Ignoring Xiao Yun's two wood-release clones, the fireball went straight for Naruto Uzumaki, who was holding a Rasengan. Helpless, Naruto Uzumaki had no choice but to control his two wood-release clones to defend himself. The wood-release clones simultaneously opened the 8 gates. Because they were clones, the 8 gates could only be opened up to the first gate. Even so, they easily blocked Kokuzu's fire release. How, I see. Xiao Yun's real body isn't here at all, is it? Kokuzu looked at Naruto with a sinister gaze. Compared to the Rasengan in Naruto's hand, Kokuzu was actually more wary of Xiao Yun. A man who rose to the Hokage position by relying on a woman shouldn't be someone he was wary of, but he always had a feeling that he had suffered a great loss at Xiao Yun's hands. Based on years of combat experience, he was certain that the two in front of him were undoubtedly Xiao Yun's clones. If the wood-release ninjutsu that just ambushed him had been released by his main body, its speed and power would have been at least several times greater than the clones, making escape impossible. In other words, if Xiao Yun's main body were here, he would never have allowed a mere clone to release a wood-release ninjutsu. Since the clone released a ninjutsu, it meant the main body wasn't here. After all, who would pass up the opportunity to kill their enemy in one blow? They say old people become shrewd, and that's absolutely true. It seems my plan to ambush you has failed. Naruto Uzumaki smiled bitterly. Chapter 145 Kokuzu's Execution. Naruto looked at Kokuzu with a wry smile. This guy was not only strong, but also had rich combat experience, making it really difficult to defeat him with a surprise attack. However, the arrow was already on the bowstring, and he had no choice but to release it. He couldn't just keep holding up this giant Rasengan forever. Naruto stomped his foot, steeled his resolve, and aimed at Kokuzu, preparing for a desperate gamble. HMPH, finally couldn't hold back, huh? Kokuzu saw all of this and could naturally tell that Naruto was going to make a gamble. If the Rasengan in his hand was thrown directly at him, he could definitely dodge it with his speed. As long as he dodged this attack, taking down this little guy would be a sure thing. Then he could take out his heart, and then he would obtain a top-tier wind release technique. As for the two tails, he could catch it later when he had the chance. Thinking of this, Kokuzu's face was filled with excitement. Go, Rasenshuriken! Naruto roared and hurled the Rasengan in his hand at Kokuzu. The buzzing and whistling sounds were mixed together, the power of which was terrifying, and the speed was also incredibly fast. So fast. Kokuzu's eyes sharpened, but he felt no fear. The Rasenshuriken was fast, but far from being unavoidable. Just as the Rasenshuriken was about to make contact, Kokuzu leaped, perfectly avoiding the edge of the spinning wind blade. I won. Kokuzu felt a surge of joy. However, in the next moment, the wind blade at the edge of the Rasenshuriken suddenly enlarged. Ah! A scream rang out as a huge gash was slashed open in Kokuzu's abdomen, blood splattering everywhere. Before Kokuzu could react, countless vines coiled around him, binding him tightly like a dumpling. Xiao Yun's two wood-release clones rushed over, tightly embracing Kokuzu, and rammed him into the Rasenshuriken. Ah, Yamada, please, spare me. Kokuzu's terrified voice rang out, but before he could finish speaking, a loud bang was heard as Kokuzu collided with a Rasenshuriken, a dazzling light flashing in midair. After a long while, the light disappeared, and the figure fell straight down from midair, crashing heavily to the ground. Upon closer inspection, it was none other than Kokuzu. However, he was now unrecognizable, his body riddled with cracks, lying flat on the ground, his eyes wide open, radiating boundless terror, as if he had just experienced something extremely horrific. Of course, along with him, Xiao Yun's two wood-release clones also died. Phew, finally done. Naruto Uzumaki didn't dare linger. After glancing at Kokuzu on the ground, he took off running. His uncle's mission for him was to bring the two tails to Konoha. While running rapidly, Xiao Yun suddenly felt a sweet taste in his throat, a trickle of blood spilling from the corner of his mouth, and a sharp pain shooting through his body. Ugh! Xiao Yun couldn't help but stop. Lord Hokage, what's wrong? Hyuga Haku asked from his back. HMPH, that kid Naruto's pretty capable, he actually took down Kakuzu. Xiao Yun revealed a kind smile. This time it finally matched the plot of the original work. In the original work, Kakuzu was killed by Naruto's Rasen Shuriken. I originally wanted to write that a pig would kill Kakuzu, but after thinking about it, I decided to use Naruto to avoid people complaining. Xiao Yun, are you alright? Hyuga Hakuge sensibly slid off Xiao Yun's back. I'm fine. Xiao Yun waved his hand. But Hyuga Hakuge wasn't blind. After activating her Byakugan, she clearly saw that Xiao Yun's chakra was disordered and his blood was churning. He was obviously injured, and not lightly. Those two wood-release clones were different from ordinary clones. Ordinary wood-release clones would disappear after a maximum of 3 hours. To help Naruto, Xiao Yun had channeled a portion of his life essence into his wood-release clone. If the clone were destroyed, Xiao Yun's original body would also suffer some damage. Normally, he would recover after a period of rest once his life essence was replenished. Looking at Xiao Yun's pale face, Hyuga Hakuge felt a pang of heartache for some reason, a feeling even stronger than Niji's injury. Why don't we rest for a while? Hyuga Hakuge took out a tissue and wiped the blood from the corner of Xiao Yun's mouth. No, Xiao Yun shook his head. For some reason, his right eyelid kept twitching, and he had a bad feeling about it. He had to get to Yukage village as soon as possible. But if you don't recover properly, it will be difficult to deal with strong enemies, won't it? Hyuga Hakuge looked at Xiao Yun with concern. I'm fine, Xiao Yun smiled calmly. After a moment of silence, Hyuga Hakuge's face grew increasingly red before she finally spoke. Hakuge-sama, let me carry you. You need to recover quickly. You'll carry me? Xiao Yun looked at Hyuga Hakuge in disbelief. Yes, I'll carry you. You must recover to your peak condition as soon as possible. Think about it, even Jiraiya-sama couldn't handle this. If you go in this state, wouldn't you be a complete waste? Don't hesitate, get on. With that, Hyuga Hakuge turned her back to Xiao Yun and bent down. Alright. Xiao Yun hesitated for a moment, but still climbed on. Now wasn't the time to worry about saving face. What Hyuga Hakuge said made perfect sense. Hold on tight, Hakuge-sama, it's about to begin, Hyuga Hakuge reminded him. Okay. Xiao Yun was somewhat at a loss, because the most suitable place for his arms to wrap around Hyuga Hakuge was her chest. But he couldn't take advantage of her at this moment. How gentlemanly. Hyuga Hakuge rolled her eyes at Xiao Yun. At a time like this, he still cared about such things? Then a pair of jade-like hands grasped Xiao Yun's hands, locking them tightly in the most suitable position. So big. So soft. Xiao Yun couldn't help but feel his blood surging again, and blood flowed out again, but this time it wasn't from his mouth, but from his nose. It has to be said that Hyuga Hakuge is truly a fine steed, fast and steady, and the natural fragrance emanating from her body is calming. Unconsciously, Xiao Yun entered a wonderful meditative state, in which his lost essence and blood rapidly recovered. A day passed, and Xiao Yun finally recovered. Moreover, Xiao Yun seemed to feel that his energy was stronger than before, and even his perception had improved considerably. Hakuge, you should rest for a bit, let me carry you. Looking at the tired Hyuga Hakuge, Xiao Yun stopped her. For the remaining 2 days, Xiao Yun carried Hyuga Hakuge on his back. Finally, on the morning of the 3rd day, the two arrived at a deserted area near Tengying village. Contact Frog, you said that Lord Jiraiya is nearby? Xiao Yun looked at the frog in his hand and asked doubtfully. Croak, 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 the frog nodded. Strange, I can't sense Jiraiya's presence. By G, use your Byakugan to look around, Xiao Yun said. Okay, Hyuga Baiji replied. Activating her Byakugan and searching around. Chapter 146 The Masked Man. Inside a massive cave stood a colossal half-Buddha statue, its 2 enormous hands held horizontally across its chest, 10 stone fingers pointing upwards, 6-7 colored phantoms perched on their fingertips. Everyone, Kakuzu is dead, the leading phantom said gravely. What? Kakuzu was actually killed by the 2 tails. How is that possible? An incredulous voice rang out. It was Sasori, known as the genius puppeteer. Although he had never fought Kakuzu, he knew his strength intimately. To be killed by the 2 tails was simply unbelievable. HMPH, I knew this guy was just a silver spear-headed idiot. To be killed by the 2 tails is a disgrace to the Akatsuki, a blonde man said disdainfully. Senior Dieter almost got killed when he captured the three tails too, the masked man said with a smirk, his tone mocking. Hey, Toby, do you want to die? Dieter instantly erupted in fury. Stop arguing. Our comrade has passed away. According to the rules, we should observe 3 minutes of silence for him, the leader said softly. Everyone fell silent instantly. After 3 minutes, the silence is over, the leader said softly, then turned his gaze to the group and said, our Akatsuki organization has suffered heavy losses recently. To ensure mission safety, from now on, we will operate with one strong and one weak member. Dieter and Sasori will be in one group, and Itachi and Toby will be in another. We will adjust the group once new members join. Disperse. With that, several afterimages flickered and disappeared into the cave. Meanwhile, in another cave, a handsome man with a cold expression stared blankly at the sky, seemingly lost in thought. Suddenly, the space in front of him distorted, and a black hole appeared. Then, a man wearing an orange-red mask slowly emerged from the black hole. This was Toby from the Akatsuki organization. Long time no see, Itachi. Toby's voice was no longer playful, it sounded majestic and domineering, like that of a king. Uchiha Itachi glanced at him coldly, ignoring him. You're as cold as ever, Toby said indifferently. Spit it out if you have something to say, Uchiha Itachi said, clearly not wanting to deal with this person, his tone tinged with impatience. I'm here today to tell you about Uchiha Sasuke. Orochimaru is already eager to possess his body. Originally, I wanted to deal with Orochimaru myself, but now I have an urgent matter to attend to, so I have to ask you to save your brother. After Toby finished speaking, Uchiha Itachi's handsome face twitched noticeably. Fine. I'll deal with Orochimaru, Uchiha Itachi said indifferently, as if Orochimaru, one of the legendary Sannin, was insignificant in his eyes. No, don't kill him. Capture him and bring him back to Akatsuki. I want to know everything about Raichi Cave from him. Okay. In the desolate outskirts of Yukage village, Hyuga Hakuji activated his Byakugan, searching for Jiraiya's whereabouts. After a long silence, Xiao Yun finally couldn't help but ask, is there any trace of Jiraiya? Here. Hyuga Hakuji pointed to a small hillside ahead. Xiao Yun stared blankly at the bare hillside, then looked at Hyuga Hakuji in confusion and asked, Hakuji, there's nothing here either. Hyuga Hakuji looked at the bare hillside and said, that's strange. I can see a special kind of chakra, similar to the natural energy on your body. I guess that's Jiraiya-sama emanating from it. Although it's very weak and intermittent, I can still distinguish it. Why can't I see Jiraiya-sama? Is that so? After hearing what Hyuga Hakuji said, Xiao Yun immediately closed his eyes and began to sense it. Indeed, a very faint natural energy was emanating from around the small hillside ahead, which was difficult to detect without careful observation. Strange, where exactly is Jiraiya-sama? Hyuga Hakuji stared ahead in confusion. But there was nothing there. Could he be underground? Xiao Yun immediately shook his head. Since he could sense the natural energy, it meant Jiraiya had already achieved Sage Mode. Even underground, the sensation shouldn't be so weak, as the Earth's isolation from natural energy is almost zero. There are only two possibilities now. First, this natural energy isn't emanating from Jiraiya. But that's unlikely, because as far as I know, besides myself and Jiraiya, only the beings in Raichi Cave can achieve Sage Mode. The second possibility is that Jiraiya was dragged into another dimension. Xiao Yun's face was filled with solemnity. Actually, Xiao Yun leaned towards the second possibility, since Samu had said that the people from Raichi Cave rarely appeared in the world, so they could be largely ruled out. If it was the second possibility, then it would be troublesome. Based on his understanding, currently only one person in the ninja world knows space-time ninjutsu, Obito Uchiha, disguised as Madara Uchiha. Jiraiya was strong, but Obito Uchiha's space-time ninjutsu was incredibly unpredictable. One wrong move and he could suffer a great loss, even death. HMPH, 5th Hokage, everyone says you became Hokage because of women, but it seems you do have some skill. You actually figured out Jiraiya's whereabouts in such a short time. I'm almost reluctant to kill you. Just then, a mocking voice rang out, and the space in front of them suddenly rippled like water, then a black hole appeared before them. From the black hole, a masked man walked out. Uchiha Obito. Xiao Yun's heart surged with shock. He recognized the man at a glance, but he still wasn't sure. After all, His understanding of the Hokage was very different from reality. Just what he feared most had come to pass. Xiao Yun, you guessed right, Jiraiya was indeed pulled into another dimension by me. To be honest, if he hadn't been seriously injured, I really wouldn't have been able to do anything to him, the masked man said calmly. Who are you? Xiao Yun looked at the masked man with extreme vigilance. Although he knew in his heart that this person was most likely Uchiha Obito, if he revealed his identity now, Obito would most likely kill him without hesitation. And judging from his tone, he seemed quite interested in Raichi Cave. Perhaps this was an opportunity. Who am I? Hell, you're not qualified to know. Tell me everything about Raichi Cave, or I'll kill you. The masked man coldly stared at Xiao Yun, his powerful aura instantly erupting and locking onto Xiao Yun. So strong. Xiao Yun instantly felt an immense pressure, a feeling he hadn't experienced since his confrontation with pain. However, things were different now. In the past few months, Xiao Yun's strength had undergone a qualitative leap. Although the masked man's pressure was immense, Xiao Yun could basically withstand it. Chapter 147 Rescuing Jiraiya. Outside Tangying village, Xiao Yun and the masked man faced each other. The masked man exuded a terrifying aura. Xiao Yun was alright, but Hyuga Hakuge was struggling to cope. Large beads of sweat covered her forehead, and her whole body trembled uncontrollably. Xiao Yun patted her shoulder, and a cool stream of chakra flowed into her body, easing Hyuga Hakuge's tension somewhat. Fifth Hokage, your chakra is quite special, the masked man said with an approving look. How about this, I'll give you a chance, join the Akatsuki organization. What do you say? Join the Akatsuki? Xiao Yun was stunned, never expecting such an offer. He shook his head and said indifferently, no interest. Is that so? Then tell me everything about Raichi Cave, or else, die. This is your last chance, the masked man said calmly, as if Xiao Yun were nothing more than an ant, someone he could crush at any moment. Xiao Yun stared intently at the masked man, his mind racing. Since the man was so eager to learn about Raichi Cave, it meant Raichi Cave must hold some extraordinary secret. Perhaps he could use this as leverage to make a deal. Fine. I'll tell you, but you have to release Jiraiya first, Xiao Yun said slowly after a moment of silence. You have no right to negotiate with me. The masked man suddenly vanished into thin air, as if he had never existed. The next second, a black hole the size of a basketball appeared behind Hyuga Hakuge. The masked man poked his head out of the black hole, a vortex emanating from his eyes. Hyuga Hakuge suddenly felt an immense suction force on his back, his body being violently dragged in. Xiao Yun's eyes narrowed. This guy was going to capture Hyuga Hakuge to threaten him. However, at that moment, the corners of Xiao Yun's mouth slightly turned up, forming a strange arc. Suddenly, a small scroll appeared on Hyuga Hakuge's back, and 3 kunai scrolls bound with explosive tags silently shot out. This. The masked man was startled and immediately shut down the vortex in his eyes, disappearing into the spatial black hole. The kunai plunged heavily into the distant hill, creating 2 loud bangs and raising a cloud of dust. Xiao Yun picked up Hyuga Hakuge in his arms, holding her close and shielding her from the aftershocks of the explosion with his own body. Based on Xiao Yun's understanding of Uchiha Obito from the original story, when he used space-time ninjutsu to absorb others, he would materialize himself, creating an opportunity to attack. And since this masked man had just shown a strong interest in Raichi Cave, he must know that Xiao Yun wouldn't speak easily, and he would most likely attack the people around Xiao Yun to threaten him. So Xiao Yun deliberately patted Hyuga Hakuge's shoulder, actually placing a miniature scroll there. This scroll was personally crafted by Tenten, the Konoha weapons expert. Don't underestimate Tenten's strength, the scrolls she makes are extremely useful. Xiao Yun looked around, puzzled. Logically, 3 kunai with explosive tags should have attacked the masked man, so why were there only 2 explosions? After a moment's thought, Xiao Yun concluded that one of the kunai had been absorbed into another dimension. Sure enough, a short while later, the space directly in front of Xiao Yun distorted, and the masked man reappeared before them. However, unlike his previous nonchalant demeanor, the masked man now looked incredibly disheveled. Half of his mask had been blown off, revealing half his face, which was covered in blood, making him look terrifying. Ho ha, I never thought I'd be outmaneuvered by an ant. Well done, you're very good, the masked man said through gritted teeth, his eyes practically devouring Xiao Yun. This was only the second time he had been injured since awakening his space-time ninjutsu. The first time was against the fourth Hokage, the Yellow Flash. The second time, it was caused by the scent. An overwhelming sense of humiliation washed over him. Huh? Brother, how can you blame me? I didn't do anything. Xiao Yun looked at the masked man innocently. Enough nonsense, prepare to die. The masked man roared, disappearing instantly and reappearing in front of Xiao Yun the next second. Xiao Yun's reaction was incredibly fast. He pulled out a kunai and thrust it at the masked man who had just emerged from the black hole. Whoosh! A bizarre scene unfolded. Xiao Yun's kunai pierced through the masked man's head, like hitting a phantom, passing right through. Then, a pair of hands grabbed Xiao Yun tightly. It's over. Did you want to see Jiraiya? I'll send you there. The masked man sneered, preparing to use a space-time ninjutsu to suck Xiao Yun in. However, the next moment, the masked man's eyes suddenly changed drastically, and he abruptly released Xiao Yun. It turned out that Xiao Yun had been prepared. The instant the masked man grabbed him, he mobilized all the lightning release chakra within his body, and a strong paralyzing sensation instantly swept over the masked man's entire body. In that brief moment of hesitation, Xiao Yun swung his arm, bringing it down with a powerful chop. An arm fell to the ground with a thud. Strangely, instead of blood, a white liquid flowed continuously from the wound. Xiao Yun wasn't about to let the masked man go. He instantly activated the 8 gates, unleashing a powerful force that surged from the ground. His punch was unleashed with overwhelming speed and power. Sensing the immense power of this punch, the masked man was terrified. He didn't even have time to activate his space-time ninjutsu, managing only a leap to barely dodge Xiao Yun's fist, but not the force of the punch itself. PFFT. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and the masked man flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Seizing the opportunity, Xiao Yun charged towards the masked man like a cannonball, leaving a trail of green gas like airplane exhaust in his wake. Such speed! The masked man had just regained his footing when he saw Xiao Yun rushing towards him like a meteor. Damn it! He hadn't expected this ant to be so strong and so despicable, plotting against him from the very first moment they met. Since his battle with the fourth Hokage, he hadn't suffered such a severe injury. He'd been careless. Revenge is a dish best served cold. He'd settle accounts with him after his injuries healed. Retreat. In an instant, the masked man made his decision. A space-time portal opened, and the masked man quickly slipped inside. He was fast, but Xiao Yun wasn't slow either. Xiao Yun could clearly sense Jiraiya's sage chakra emanating from the space the masked man had created. He had to rescue Jiraiya. Ha! Xiao Yun roared, his dragon transformation activating instantly, more than doubling his speed. Just as the masked man was about to slip inside, Xiao Yun grabbed his foot. Jiraiya, get out of here. Xiao Yun endured the intense pull of the black hole, standing before it and shouting. At that moment, a figure shot out of the hole. It was none other than Jiraiya. Xiao Yun was overjoyed. He quickly released the masked man's foot, jumped up with all his might, and left the eerie black hole. Fifth Hokage, you really gave me a huge surprise. I'll remember you. I was careless this time. I hope you won't disappoint me next time we meet. Seraph. A cold voice echoed in the sky, then the black hole closed completely, as if the masked man had never been there. HMPH, next time we meet, I'll cripple your other arm too, you cowardly piece of trash. Xiao Yun arrogantly cursed. But after waiting for a long time, there was no response. It seemed he was really gone. Xiao Yun. A faint voice came. Xiao Yun turned around and saw Jiraiya lying on the ground, covered in blood, with bones protruding. Lord Jiraiya! Xiao Yun exclaimed in surprise and rushed over. Chapter 148 Returning to Konoha Village. Xiao Yun dared not linger any longer. If this guy called for reinforcements, things would be troublesome. Don't be fooled by how easily Xiao Yun had repelled the masked man. In fact, only Xiao Yun knew that he had used almost all his trump cards, except for wood release. If he hadn't repelled the masked man, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Carrying Jiraiya for a full 50 kilometers, they finally stopped in a forest. Lord Jiraiya, let me treat you first. Xiao Yun put Jiraiya down and immediately cast Earth Rejuvenation Technique on him. 3 hours later, the nearly lifeless Jiraiya finally regained some color in his face. Xiao Yun, thank you for saving me. Without you, I might have really died there. Jiraiya said weakly. Jiraiya, Tsunade has always treated you like an older brother. Her older brother is my older brother. Why be so polite with me? Besides, I am the 5th Hokage. Saving my own villagers is only natural. Xiao Yun smiled faintly. If the 3rd Hokage knew about your rapid growth and the will of fire, he'd be laughing in his grave. That masked man was someone I couldn't even scratch, yet you severely injured him. It's unbelievable. You truly are the most powerful genius I've ever seen in my life. Even the 4th Hokage probably can't compare to you. Looking at Xiao Yun before him, Jiraiya was filled with nothing but admiration. How long had it been? Xiao Yun had grown from a Jinan to such a terrifying level. Just luck, Xiao Yun replied, somewhat embarrassed by the praise. How could he compare to the 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze? The reason he was able to repel the masked man was because he knew his strength, and the masked man's underestimation of him gave him an opportunity. Jiraiya, how did you get such a serious injury? Was it that masked man who did it? Xiao Yun asked, looking at Jiraiya with suspicion. Hokage-sama, Jiraiya-sama has just woken up. Although his life isn't in immediate danger, he needs further treatment. If he doesn't receive timely treatment, it could lead to complications. I suggest we return to Konoha and discuss this further after Jiraiya recovers, said Hyuga Hakyuge. That makes sense. Let's go now. I'll carry Jiraiya, Xiao Yun said, walking to Jiraiya's side. No, let me carry Jiraiya-sama, Hyuga Hakyuge said, stopping Xiao Yun with concern. She had clearly witnessed a battle with the masked man. Xiao Yun had almost exhausted all his chakra. Although the battle was short, it had taken a heavy toll on his body. I'll do it, Xiao Yun shook his head. Jiraiya was a notorious womanizer, and at that moment, Xiao Yun noticed that even though he was seriously injured, his eyes kept glancing at Hyuga Hakyuge's bodysuit, which was about to burst open. The buttons on this girl's clothes are damn good quality, the seller is really unethical, Jiraiya muttered to himself. Hey, Xiao Yun, what are you doing? No, cough cough, I don't want you to carry me, I want Hyuga Hakyuge to carry me. Jiraiya shouted weakly. Along the way, Hyuga Hakyuge kept stealing glances at Xiao Yun, a sweet feeling rising in her heart. Could it be that Xiao Yun doesn't want me to have contact with other men, so he's deliberately competing with me to carry Jiraiya? Is that it? It shouldn't be, right? It should be, right? Hyuga Hakyuge finally made it back to Konoha with her doubts. As soon as they entered Konoha, the two of them immediately settled Jiraiya into the Konoha hospital. Hakyuge, you've worked hard these past few days, go back and get some rest, Xiao Yun said with a smile. Oh, Hyuga Hakyuge nodded, but didn't leave. What's wrong? Is there something else? Xiao Yun looked at Hyuga Hakyuge with suspicion. Hyuga Hakyuge remained silent for a long time, her face growing increasingly red. Finally, she seemed to have made up her mind, her red lips parting slightly as she said, Hokage-sama, there's something I want to ask you. When we returned to Konoha, you wouldn't let me carry you. Xiao Yun, you're finally back. I missed you so much. Just then, a gentle voice rang out, and a stunningly beautiful figure rushed into Xiao Yun's arms. Needless to say, it was Tsunade, the mother of their child. Seeing this, Hyuga Hakyuge felt a sudden pang of sadness, her nose stinging, and she quietly left the two of them. A few days later, Jiraiya finally recovered, but Tsunade suffered from backaches, leg cramps, and even the short journey to the hospital to see Jiraiya was carried by Xiao Yun. Fortunately, it was late at night, and no one saw them. Tsunade, why do you need Xiao Yun to carry you even for a short walk? Are your pregnancy symptoms that bad? Jiraiya looked at Tsunade with concern. Maybe, it's all this damned guy's fault. Tsunade pinched Xiao Yun hard, making him wince in pain. Oh, then you'd better take good care of yourself during your pregnancy. The child you and Xiao Yun have will definitely be a genius. You don't know, Xiao Yun's performance this time has really exceeded my expectations, Jiraiya said excitedly. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yun was speechless. Jiraiya seemed unrestrained, but he was actually still a virgin and knew nothing about women. Tsunade was so full of energy and had a rosy complexion, she didn't look like a woman experiencing severe pregnancy symptoms at all. If Rock Lee or Might Guy were here, they would definitely know that Tsunade was being nourished by the essence of heaven and earth. Sigh, poor thing, one of the legendary Sannin, still a 40-year-old virgin. I'll take him to fire his first shot in life someday. By the way, Jiraiya, what happened to you in Yukage village? How did you get so badly injured? Tsunade stood up, holding onto the chair, but her legs went weak and she almost fell. Fortunately, Xiao Yun caught her in time. Tsunade rolled her eyes at him and pinched him hard. This guy was a beast. Back in Konoha, he did two things: train during the day and cause trouble at night. He seemed to have inexhaustible energy, working night after night. Even the best land couldn't be plowed like that. They say there are no bad fields, only overworked oxen. Now it seems the saying is wrong. Tsunade, you should sit down. Jiraiya paused, looking terrified, and said, this time in Yukage. Chapter 149 The Secret of Tengying Village. In Konoha Hospital, Jiraiya recounted the events. It turned out that Yukage Village harbored a massive underground secret base, inhabited by a group of mysterious figures who always wore masks of evil gods. Jiraiya was detected by their sensory barrier as soon as he infiltrated, and was immediately pursued by several of these mysterious figures. To Jiraiya's surprise, although they weren't particularly strong, each of them possessed a mysterious curse technique. Even someone as strong as Jiraiya was no match for these unpredictable curses and was severely injured. Fortunately, he managed to escape using Sage Mode. Strangely, these mysterious figures seemed afraid to leave Yukage Village. Seeing Jiraiya flee, they stopped pursuing him. However, Jiraiya hadn't gone far from Yukage Village when he encountered the masked man who had fought Xiao Yun a few days earlier. The man's unpredictable space-time ninjutsu caught Jiraiya off guard. In his prime, Jiraiya wouldn't have been afraid, but severely injured, he couldn't withstand the attack and was ultimately absorbed into another dimension. If Xiao Yun hadn't suddenly appeared, Jiraiya would likely have been killed. Jiraiya, can you tell me more about the curse abilities of these people from Yukage Village? Xiao Yun asked, puzzled. Jiraiya remained silent for a moment, then said with lingering fear, these people's abilities are incredibly strange. There were 3 of them chasing me, each at most a Jonin in strength. But they could coordinate. One of their curses greatly weakened my strength, another burned my chakra, and the third was even stranger, seemingly able to burn my life force. To be honest, if I hadn't set up a reverse summoning jutsu outside Yukage Village beforehand and escaped at the crucial moment, I probably would have died inside. Strangely enough, once they saw me leave the village, they stopped chasing me. Xiao Yun and Tsunade were immediately shocked. A Jonin had almost killed a cage-level ninja like Jiraiya. That was too unbelievable. If Jiraiya hadn't said it himself, the two would have found it hard to believe. The difference between a Jonin and a cage-level ninja is enormous. Even 30 Jonin would struggle to defeat a cage, let alone kill him. The ninja world is truly full of hidden talents. While the 5 great ninja nations are strong, the heroes of the world shouldn't be underestimated, Xiao Yun murmured to himself. That's right. Grandpa once told me that there are many mysterious forces in this world that remain hidden from the world. They possess many mysterious and unpredictable powers, and they are indeed worth paying attention to. But according to my analysis, the fact that they possess such powerful techniques yet remain unknown in the ninja world is most likely due to some kind of restriction. Otherwise, with their heaven-defying abilities, they would have already dominated the ninja world, Tsunade said calmly. Xiao Yun nodded in agreement. They had already severely injured Jiraiya, but stopped their pursuit once he left the village, indicating that their power was likely limited to a certain range. Compared to Yukage Village, what we need to worry about now is that Akatsuki ninja who can use space-time manipulation. Xiao Yun, you've fought him before, can you tell me more about him? Tsunade's beautiful face showed deep concern. About this person, you might be shocked when I tell you his identity, Xiao Yun said mysteriously. Looking at the two of them. You know his identity? Jiraiya and Tsunade stared at Xiao Yun with wide eyes in unison. Most likely, Xiao Yun said with a faint smile. Stop being so mysterious, just tell me already. Tsunade pinched Xiao Yun's eye again. Xiao Yun gritted his teeth, clutching his leg, and said irritably, my dear Tsunade-sama, could you please stop pinching my thigh? It hurts. Okay, I promise you, tell me now, Tsunade said impatiently. Xiao Yun coughed a few times, his eyes filled with disbelief as he looked at Tsunade. This woman always agreed so readily, only to forget it the next day, and each time she pinched him harder than the last. Just you wait, see how I'll torment you when we get home tonight. Actually, you should both know this person, Xiao Yun said. We both know him? Tsunade and Jiraiya looked at Xiao Yun with suspicion. Yes, this person is none other than the fourth Hokage's disciple, Uchiha Obito, Xiao Yun said seriously, looking at the two of them. Uchiha Obito? Tsunade exclaimed in surprise. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Uchiha Obito died long ago, and he even gave his left Sharingan to Kakashi. Jiraiya shook his head violently, denying Xiao Yun's statement. Minato Namikaze had felt guilty about this for a very long time back then. I know this is hard to believe, but please believe me. And the Nine Tails attack on Konoha was Obito Uchiha's doing. Upon hearing Xiao Yun's words, Jiraiya and Tsunade looked at him with even greater disbelief. This was getting more and more absurd. After a long silence, Tsunade took Xiao Yun's arm, looking at him with unwavering eyes. This man had never disappointed her. Alright, Xiao Yun, I believe you too. Jiraiya nodded, then frowned, looking at Xiao Yun with suspicion, and asked, Xiao Yun, I remember you said that after the main Gekkai Sharingan awakens, a special ability will awaken. Is space-time ninjutsu the ability that appeared after Obito's main Gekkai Sharingan awakened? Yes. Xiao Yun nodded. If that's the case, then Kakashi should have also awakened space-time ninjutsu, Jiraiya said excitedly. Yeah, I never thought of that. Damn, Kakashi's been hiding it well. Tsunade excitedly pinched Xiao Yun again, then sheepishly rubbed the spot where she'd pinched him. Xiao Yun smiled, then shook his head, saying, You think the main Gekkai Sharingan can be awakened so easily? You need to kill your closest relatives to awaken it. What? Jiraiya and Tsunade were shocked. Let's talk about that later. The most important thing right now is to find out the secrets of Ukage Village. I have a feeling this Ukage Village is extraordinary. By the way, Tsunade, is Hidden still refusing to reveal anything about Ukage Village's secrets? Xiao Yun turned to Tsunade. Yes. Tsunade said helplessly. This guy was impervious to both soft and hard tactics, torture had absolutely no effect on him. By the way, Xiao Yun, I saw a masked statue in Tangying Village. There were many characters on the statue, and I made a copy out of sheepskin. See if you can find any clues. Jiraiya pulled a dried sheepskin from under his pillow. Xiao Yun opened it and saw it covered in densely packed characters. Hiss. The moment he saw the characters, Xiao Yun gasped. He recognized the characters all too well, Chinese characters. Chapter 150 Preparing to head to Mount Myaboku. In a megacure, it drizzles for 300 out of 365 days a year. As a result, the villagers' faces, like the incessant rain, are rarely smiling. Passers-by wear grim expressions, as if their fathers have died. In an inconspicuous corner of the village, space suddenly flickers, ripples spread like water, and then a black hole appears. A masked man covered in blood crawls out of the black hole. The instant he appears, countless white papers rain down from above his head. The papers slowly coalesce, revealing a stunningly beautiful woman before him. Madara, I never thought there was anyone in this world who could hurt you. It's truly unbelievable, the woman says mockingly. HMPH, if sealing the three tails hadn't consumed so much chakra, I wouldn't be in this state now. That despicable Xiao Yun, one day I'll make him pay the price. The masked man's voice is filled with venom. Xiao Yun? That fifth Hokage? The woman's voice was full of doubt. As far as she knew, the fifth Hokage had become Hokage by relying on a woman, and not long ago he was just a Jonin. How long had it been, and he had actually managed to injure the infamous Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara possessed space-time ninjutsu, and even pain couldn't handle him. Xiao Yun's growth rate was truly terrifying. Konan, inform Pain that we must find an opportunity to kill this Xiao Yun. If we let him go, he will inevitably become a major threat to the Akatsuki. I need to recuperate for a while. During this time, I'll leave all the Akatsuki affairs to Pain. Oh, and we also need to teach the Tsuchikage and Kirigakure villages a lesson. Thinking of Xiao Yun and the two-faced Tsuchikage and Kirigakure villages, the masked man gritted his teeth in hatred. Okay. The woman called Konan nodded, and then the masked man disappeared. Shortly after he disappeared, a man with ripple-like eyes appeared behind Konan. Pain, you heard what Madara Uchiha just said. I'll arrange for people to keep a close eye on the fifth Hokage and find an opportunity to kill him, Konan said coldly. No need. I'll deal with him myself when I have the chance. You should proceed according to the original plan. Pain waved his hand, then turned his gaze to the lightning-streaked sky. Yes. Konan transformed into white paper airplanes and left Pain. Watching the departing paper airplanes, a glint flashed in Payne's eyes, and he muttered to himself, Madara, no, I should call you Ebitaro, right? You and I should share the same ideals, right? If not, I will kill you with my own hands. Xiao Yun, I also hope that your path of peace can bring true peace to the ninja world, otherwise I will kill you too. Time passed quickly, and a month went by in the blink of an eye. In Konoha village, the two-tails Jinchuriki Yuki, the six-tails Jinchuriki Utakeda, and Uzumaki Naruto were gathered in the Hokage's office. In addition to them, Jiraiya and Tsunade also appeared in the office. Lord Hokage, news has arrived from the Raikage village. Killer Bee will arrive in Konoha tomorrow. The speaker was Hyuga Hakuji. She was now Xiao Yun's secretary. Since Kurenai was hospitalized, Tsunade had been busy with Konoha's affairs, becoming exhausted. Hyuga Hakuji volunteered to take on the role, handling Konoha's daily matters. Unlike Tsunade's carefree nature, Hyuga Hakuji's professional abilities were significantly superior. Whether it was Konoha's internal affairs or diplomacy with other countries, Hyuga Hakuji displayed a level of skill far beyond her years. With her around, Tsunade's burden was considerably lighter. Moreover, after spending time together, Tsunade and Hyuga Hakuji seemed to have become inseparable best friends, even commuting to and from get off work together and sharing a room. Of course, this wasn't due to any change in Tsunade's sexual orientation, rather, Tsunade's pregnancy symptoms had become increasingly severe, and Hyuga Hakuji was simply taking care of her. Very good. Looking at Hyuga Hakuji, who had handled everything perfectly, Xiao Yun nodded in satisfaction. He then turned his gaze to Jiraiya and asked, Jiraiya, what did they say about Mount Maiboku? The Toad Sage has agreed to let me bring the Jinchuriki to Mount Maiboku, Jiraiya said with a smile. To prevent the tailed beasts from being kidnapped by the Akatsuki, Xiao Yun suggested placing the Jinchuriki at Mount Maiboku. Jiraiya had approached the Toad Sage with a tentative attitude, as Mount Maiboku never allowed anyone without a contract with the Toad clan to go there. But to Jiraiya's surprise, the Toad Sage readily agreed this time. Excellent. Xiao Yun smiled with satisfaction. After all, Mount Maiboku was extremely secluded, surrounded by countless natural passages and numerous barriers and illusion arrays. Even Jiraiya could only be summoned to Mount Maiboku using the reverse summoning technique. From ancient times to the present, no one had ever been able to enter Mount Maiboku without the guidance of the Toad clan. Don't get too excited yet. The Toad Sage has made a condition of your request, Jiraiya said with a mysterious smile. A condition? What condition? Xiao Yun looked at Jiraiya with suspicion. Sign a contract with the Toad clan and come to Mount Maiboku every so often to learn Sage Mode, Jiraiya said with a smile. That's great. Of course I agree. Xiao Yun smiled slightly. He hadn't expected the Toad Sage, whom he'd never met before, to be so kind to him. Not only had he agreed to take in the tailed beast, but he'd also proactively invited him to Mount Maiboku to learn Sage Mode. Not bad, not bad, a good toad indeed. But then Xiao Yun thought of a problem and looked at Jiraiya with suspicion, saying, Jiraiya, I'm practicing Sage Mode from Raichi Cave. Won't learning Sage Mode from Mount Maiboku cause a conflict? Aren't snakes and toads natural enemies? You don't need to worry about that. The Toad Sage already knows everything about you, Jiraiya waved his hand, reassuring Xiao Yun. Alright, I agree. Once Killer Bee arrives tomorrow, bring a forge and Jinchuriki to Mount Maiboku, Xiao Yun said. Jiraiya nodded in agreement. That night, Tsunade, who had been fine for a while, had been vomiting severely for the past few days for some unknown reason. Just now, she finally fell into deep sleep. By gee, you've been busy with Konoha affairs and taking care of Tsunade these past few days. It's really been hard on you, Xiao Yun said, scratching the back of his head sheepishly. He realized that besides training, he had been constantly dealing with Tsunade. As for the Hokage position, he was essentially a hands-off manager. Come with me, Hyuga Baiji pulled Xiao Yun out of Tsunade's room. Hokage-sama, really, Tsunade is pregnant, and you're still causing her so much trouble. Hyuga Baiji said, her face suddenly turning red. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all, see you in the next video.